State, are you ready? Defense, are you ready?
It's ready, Your Honor.
Mr. Bailey, if you could bring the jury. Everyone, please stand. Okay.
Witnesses outside.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, you may be seated.
Just state recall. A witness, Deputy Weaver, he was on the stand at the time we were closed.
Mr. Was that Detective Weaver, you can have a seat, the witness stand. Jefferson County Court at law number 2 is back in session and cause number M330208. Case is styled the state of Texas versus Demetrius Gerald Wheeler. Let the record reflect that Demetrius Gerald Wheeler is present in court with his attorney John West. Let the record also reflect that the state is present with Assistant District Attorney Colby Hoffmeyer. Mr. Hoffmeyer, are you ready to proceed?
I'm ready to proceed, Your Honor.
State defense, are you ready to proceed?
Ready, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Hoffmeyer, the witness is yours.
Thank you, Judge. And just a reminder, for at the time we closed, we had moved and entered for all purposes, state statement number 6, and we permission to publish.
Yes,
And that's what we're gonna do at this time.
okay,
That's it.
Mr. Porter.
My name is Nick Weir, from Final Business Self to are you going to file charges?
I want to know.
Okay, that's fine. Tell me what happened.
They were, and I was on the phone, I was on FaceTime with my friend, and, my coworker, phone rang. She answered it, and, she was telling the fuelers over there, because they called the next question off the phone. And, she was like, we've been had this schedule, and I said, oh, what's that? That's all I said. And then he said something, the guy on the phone, said something smart. Oh, I put my up by something like this. And she relayed the message to me. I said, oh, I was able to the phone. That's all I said. And then he said something back, and so I hung up the phone. And that was it. He decided to drive over here from the fuelers.
What's the feelers?
They fuel the plane.
Okay, you glad I can't make some that.
He's over there.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
he's over there. So at that point, I wasn't even worried about it no more, you know. I'm still talking to him. He comes over in our office, he walks in our office. He grabs the chair that I'm in, he slides it back, and he has his hands around my neck, like this, and like all up in my face like this. I'm like, yo, what are you doing? I didn't even see him coming because I was on the phone. He walked in.
Is there audio with it?
I don't know.
The supervisor still here, and they all gone?
No. Only one of my, she was there, but she didn't see it happen.
No, I was just curious about if there's audio.
I'm not sure.
Uh,
Hold on just for a second, Your Honor. Go ahead. Few questions for the officer. Sure. Officer, we've gone over this. This is your body cam video, correct?
Yes.
And it complained something more in this video that we see right here. Okay, now who is the other male in the screen?
Give me a second, I'll see. She verbally identified each other as boyfriend and girlfriend, and he works in the portion of your.
Okay, but he's the boyfriend of the complainant, right? Now, did he witness anything?
Not initially.
Okay, well, he was caught after the fact, kind of like you.
Correct.
Okay, so we're muting his, what was said to him, only listening to her portion of it. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, let's start this, starting here. Excuse me. So whenever he did this, did you feel pain?
Yes, I did. Even after my neck.
Feel pain, like, how did you feel, what was the pain that you felt? Like, pain because you couldn't breathe, pain because of squeezing on his muscles, pain, so you never felt like you couldn't breathe?
No. And he,
Not, like I said, I'm not disputing, I'm just, there's questions that I have to ask, that's all. And you don't know, this is the first time you ever met this guy?
no, I know him.
So y'all work for the same company?
No.
Or that's a separate company?
I work there, he works, where he works.
Okay. All right. So first off, what I need you to do is we need you to fill out a witness statement, okay? Every single line has to be filled out. Date of birth, everything. Okay, and I don't, mine's social security number, I do not want you to put your social security number because these papers are public record.
Yeah.
Of course, anybody can get your social security number if they try hard enough, but there's no reason to do that. You don't wanna. You just don't. So. Anyway. One thing I'm gonna need you to do is underneath here, I'm gonna need you to put your height, your weight, your eye color, and your hair color, okay? Right in here. Because, and the reason I need all that is because in our report system, whenever I put your information in there, those are some of the blocks that we had to fill in. And I don't wanna guess,
Yeah,
and then you look at the report, and be like, man, I saw it's going down salary, 180, I'm a blood 10, so. And that's one. So if you would go ahead and fill all this out. And we'll go from there, and you didn't witness anything,
Outside of him admitting in his office as well as in his office.
I tell you what, then I'll go ahead and get you to fill one out as well.
Yeah.
Just need everything. It doesn't have to be a college thesis paper, but don't write on the back if you need more room. I've got plenty of these. I just need the meat and potatoes. If there was cuss words, put them in there verbatim. Anything. Verbatim. So, and that's fine, but he spoke to the man as well, and the guy admitted to him, so.
Well, he admitted to it.
Admission of anything is an admission. See what I'm saying? So, and granted, it's not everything, but it's still something, and yours can just be, if it's that long, then it's that long.
Yeah, we'll talk to Mary up here, to Mary,
Is she here as well?
yeah.
She actually.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And I got your witness statement on recorded right here. I'll just need the written ones for the case file.
Yeah.
If you don't want to, we can go, we have our office in here. Let's do that. Oh, thank you. Yeah. We can just set something up. She worked tomorrow.
You know, you don't put it in the name.
She lives in the area. Oh, yeah, but I mean, what I'll do is I'll let my supervisors know, and I'll get all of their information. And, see if one of the day shift guys come, I'm working nights, so I won't come on until 6 p.m. tomorrow.
Okay.
See if maybe one of the day shift guys can take their witness statement, or, the detectives might just want to wait until they get the case and look at it, and then they call her in. They'll figure something out.
Okay, this is okay.
Just need to get her.
Yeah. Rather be here every morning.
So that's a period, same thing. We just been,
Hey, we want to take this elbow.
There ain't nobody in here right now. I'm just so used to them.
I'll wear it.
Real quickly, officer, I'm not gonna follow it. There's another female now in the picture. Do you know who that was?
I don't recall her name off the top of my head, and she's a supervisor, so that's my recollection.
Was she a witness to the allegation that's more made?
No, she wasn't.
Okay. also, just for, so that we're clear on what's going on now. You've given a statement sheet for the complainant to fill out, correct? So is that what she's doing?
Yes, sir.
And anything the other two people were saying, they weren't witnesses to alleged. Is that right?
Correct.
So did you give them statements to write? Why not?
Neither one of them saw the alleged assault.
They're both after the fact. And anything they're saying on there, but that's inadmissible. Because it's not relevant if they're not there.
Yes, sir.
That's your understanding of it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But do you cut your camera off
No, sir.
during that? That's all a part of your investigation is the camera being on.
Correct.
Okay.
All the cameras are not allowed to be turned off or muted.
Why is that? Why is that? Why aren't you allowed to turn it on and off?
Forgive me, I forget the actual case law. It just recently came into effect. Officers are not allowed to mute or turn the body camera off on scene while speaking to the complainant suspect until everything is said and done and there's no more evidentiary value.
So this is the muted, this was done by the DA's office. It wasn't done by you as the office.
Correct, it was not me.
At some point, you take and talk to the witness directly about these individuals on video.
Believe so.
Sure.
Here shortly. I believe they have to leave or at least move to the other side of the room.
Why didn't you take her out of from around these people while she's writing her statement or while you're there? Did you have another person with you?
That's right. I kept everybody right there in front of me.
Do you do that as a matter of procedure?
Yes, sure. It was officer safety. And also it made her feel comfortable with people she knew. So it brought her anxiety level down.
Was he anxious in your opinion?
She was when I first met her. She was. And once we got to that room and she started listening, I guess, to the other two people, she's in a familiar place. She calmed down.
Okay, do you want to add anything else? Finish all four triangles. What that's saying is that there's nothing else that you want to add. So anything that's added after that, we need to approve. Not that anybody can add anything else, would, but just one of the same things to say. So just so I know, I have better understanding. Something else take place? Right here? What's this office called? Just American Airlines office? And your coworker, how you spell her name? What's her last name? What's her phone number? Hello?
Rosie, ROUSY. And then Watson, WAT.
Yeah, phone number.
One, two, three.
Robert? Okay. Right now, I'm saying no, right now. So he's a viewer. Okay, what is that number over there that I can get from you? And you said you didn't feel any restriction on your airway at all? You didn't have any trouble breathing? It was just pain from his fingers? Okay, so the next thing you do, step right over here, please. I need you to pull your hair back. Look right there. And I'm gonna get a camera and take pictures of your neck. Just in case, sometimes the bruises don't show up. Sometimes they don't show up right away. So I'll go ahead and take pictures now. And in the event that bruises do show up, what I need you to do is contact the detective and say, hey, look, I've got bruises now. I didn't the other day when the deputy came out and took my statement. Do y'all need pictures? And a good thing, to do is
I took a picture.
have, you did, let me see.
But that was like, man,
Okay, so make sure you hang on that picture, and so you wake up in the morning and you see some. Take a picture of that, whoever you live with or stay with, or whatever the case is. Take a picture of it with your cell phone, hang on to them, but if marks do show up. We are gonna need to get you to come down and let detectives take pictures, okay? And the detectives are more than likely gonna want that picture as well. And any other cell phone pictures y'all get, they'll provide you with an email address, and you just shoot them the pictures. So this is your case number. Like I said, we're almost done. We're gonna get a camera and take pictures, and then after that, we'll be done. This is your case number. 1-001943. If you think of anything else later on that, or say bruises do show up, or harassment continues, or ensues or whatever, call this number right here, between the hours of 8 and 5, Monday through Friday, and ask them to speak to the detective working your case. And they'll patch you through to whoever it is. They may or may not answer. If they don't answer, just leave a voicemail. Tell them who you are, give them a phone number. I have no idea how long it takes for the detectives to look at your case. Okay, I do not know what their workload is, so I can't give you a time frame, but somebody's gonna contact you. Okay, I mean, you're not gonna be sitting here, in August still waiting to hear from somebody. That's not gonna happen. But as far as a time frame, I can't give you one, because I don't know what their schedule is. So there's that. Give me just a minute. Let me grab my camera. I'll take pictures, and then after that, I'll be done with y'all's portion, and I'm gonna go see if I can make contact with him. Okay, so give me a second. I'll be right back. If you want to stand up, just stand up straight, hands down by your side. All right. Bring your head back. Can you look up a little bit? I'd like to see on your neck. I don't have a picture. Thank you so much. All right. Well, if there's anything else, please feel free to give us a call. We'll be out as soon as we can.
thank you.
That's not a problem, no problem at all. Yes, take pictures of that, laminate it, make copies. Don't lose that. Okay. And if y'all's supervision needs anything from us, as far as report wise, all you gotta do is, all they have to do is call the office and request a copy of the report from the detectives, and they can get them. All you gotta do is call up there and talk to them. I wouldn't get that, because a lot of times the detectives aren't in the office, so they won't just be standing there waiting for somebody to show up. So, just call it, give it a few days before you try to call, unless something happens. Give it several days. And just when you talk to the detective, say, hey, I'd like a copy of the report, please.
Just make sure you let Rosie know.
And you're gonna have to sign something, I'm sure. I believe it's an open records request. I believe it's Rosie. I could be wrong on that, but there's something that you have to sign to get a copy. Yeah. So, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. And if you anything else we can do, please feel free to give us a call. All right, thank you. All right, you'll have a
I'm gonna stop it at this point. Now proceed with question, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, anything that's left on that video, officer, is that stays on while you're doing your reports and preparing the information and evidence you collected at that point. Is that right?
Yes.
So anything else is not, I mean, we're not gonna watch that because in regard pertinence to this particular case,
Sure. At this point,
then we're gonna save some time. Okay, I got some questions from, now at this point, you're still in an ongoing investigation, correct? And you're not the detective who follows through, you're the initial officer on the scene. Okay. Tell the jury, what's your job as an initial officer?
so my initial job is to gather all pertinent information at the scene, any evidence that I may see, marks, names, date of birth, phone numbers, identify everybody involved as best as I possibly can, get all the facts that I possibly can, and put everything together and send it to the detectives, let them dig. whatever.
So then you give, correct me if I'm wrong, you provide them the information they can follow through the investigation. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, in this, if you know or you don't know, but did you or the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office ever get a photo that Ms. Moore said she had taken a picture? Did she ever send that in?
I have no idea.
Okay. Now, because at that point, your investigation went to a detective.
Correct. Once I turn my paperwork in
Okay.
at the end of my shift, I don't see it again.
Okay.
So I want that coming to court.
Now, was anybody close, meaning like the other eyewitness, Ms. Casemore, or the alleged perpetrator, Mr. Wheeler, on the scene when you were at the terminal? Okay. Did you, is it your job to go find them that day? Or is that, you
No,
give
sir.
that to them?
I make a reasonable effort
Okay.
to make contact. And on this particular incident, I was not able to make contact with Ms. Castle on the street.
Okay. So you made an attempt, but you gave all the information that you obtained to the detective, is that right? Now, remind us again, approximately what time is this when you arrived on the scene on June 23rd, 2021?
Approximately 7:15.
Okay. And it wasn't at around 7 that this occurred, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. When did Ms. Moore tell you this occurred?
She said it occurred about 4:15.
Okay. Roughly how long is that?
3 hours.
Okay. So, but you still took photograph. And did she tell you it caused her pain?
She did.
And was she clear about who it was that did it?
She was.
Okay. Professor Woodward.
Mr. West, you may proceed.
You didn't see this incident occur, did you?
No, sir. I don't.
So the only way, you don't have any independent recollection of what happened out there that day, do you? You got to refer to your report to remember what all happened, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. You've done a lot since then, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you have a lot of calls you go on, okay? And most of them you don't come to court on, do you?
No, sir.
Okay. So you don't, I was saying, you don't independently remember this, you might remember going to the airport, but you go to the airport more than once, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And everything that you wrote in your report is based off what you were told there by those individuals, correct?
Correct.
Fascinating.
Mr. Alpar,
I have nothing further, Your Honor, that's with the accused
Yes.
and released.
Mr. West,
No objection.
okay. Um, Deputy, the court will remind you that you're still under the rule. Please do not talk to any of the witnesses about the case, read any reports or documents, and you can't talk to the attorneys. So at this time, you're excused, and you have a blessed day, Deputy Weaver. All right.
Judge, I have two more brief witnesses, officers, if you'd like to take a break now, or we can. I can
That's fine.
speak to that.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the jury, we're gonna take a brief break. Please follow the bailiff into the hallway. Everyone, please stand for the jury. Court will be in recess.
Leave them outside there, I can bring them
No,
back
that's
in.
fine. Well, we're gonna bring everybody in. Mr. Bailey, would you please go get the jury? Everyone, please stand for the jury. Let the record reflect that the clause number 330208, State of Texas versus Demetrius Gerald Wheeler is back in session. Let the record also reflect that Mr. Wheeler is present in court with his attorney, John West. Let the record also reflect that the state is present with Assistant District Attorney Kobe Hoffbauer. And let the record also reflect that the jury is now present in the courtroom. Mr. Hoffbauer, are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. West, are you ready?
Ready, Your Honor.
Mr. Hoffbauer, you can call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. State calls, Deputy Chad Williams.
And Deputy Wilson, would you please raise your right hand? Deputy Wilson, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? Deputy Wilson, you can take the witness stand and you can adjust the microphone and the chair. Mr. Hoffbauer, you may proceed.
Yes, sir. Will you please state your name for the record, please?
Chad Williamson,
Right, and Deputy Williamson, where do you currently work?
Criminal Investigations Division for the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office.
Are you a certified peace officer in the state of Texas?
Yes, sir.
And how long have you been certified?
15 years.
Okay, and where did you go to get training in order that you can become certified?
A basic peace officer academy for Jefferson County.
Okay, was that done at the sheriff's office?
Yes, sir.
Now, when you started 15 years ago, was it with Jefferson County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what did you start in? Wasn't criminal investigations, right?
I was on patrol for 7 years.
Okay, and normal guy with patrols, officer, your jurisdiction, remind the jury that a sheriff's office jurisdiction is the county.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have municipalities, however, the sheriff's office jurisdiction is all the county.
Yes, sir.
So you cover places that, the rural areas, but also work within the cities. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, after 5 years of patrol, what did you do? What were your duties?
I worked as a detective in the Criminal Investigations Division for another 7 years and became a supervisor.
Okay. And as a how long were you a supervisor?
I've been a supervisor for about 8 months.
Okay. Now, are you considered a detective or you supervise other detectives?
I supervise other detectives.
Okay. Now, do you remember if you working you weren't a supervisor back in 2021, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, but you were a detective in CID.
Yes, sir.
And when we say CID, that's criminal investigation.
Detectives, yeah.
Gotcha. So would you tell what happens generally in a case where comes in of, say, an assault and a responding officer goes out, takes statements, collects evidence at or near the time of the alleged event, but then passes it the information up to a detective. Does that sound right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, would you run that through, and explain to the jury how the sheriff's office here in Jefferson County works a case?
Okay, criminal complaints are forwarded to the Criminal Investigations Division where the complaint is reviewed by detectives. And the detective then sees what needs to be done next on the case with calling in witnesses, complainants, victims, I mean, anything that needs to be done. Gathering any more information, videos, stuff like that.
Would you consider that follow through?
Yes, sir.
You're taking
Follow-up investigation.
follow up, follow through from what the initial officer got, but the detective with a more experienced eye,
Yes, sir.
is that fair to say? Looks over and sees if there is more evidence that needs to be collected, more people need to be talked to
Yes, sir.
of that nature. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, were you employed as a detective on June 23rd, 2021 with Jefferson County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, the next day, I mean, excuse me, not on 6/24/2021, were you, I guess, assigned to do some further investigation on an assault, alleged assault that occurred at Jack Brooks Regional Airport?
Yes, sir. I was assisting another detective,
Okay, who was that detective?
Matt Gardner.
Okay, and was he a detective working in CID the same as you?
Yes, sir.
Is it normal for y'all to assist on cases when you can't be available?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is that the nature of this assistance?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what were you assigned to do to assist Mr. Gardner? Was he assigned the case as the detective, or was it both of your case?
No, it was his case.
Okay,
He was the detective on that case.
okay. Well, tell the jury what you did in regards to this particular case.
Matt Gardner came to me, Detective Gardner came to me, and he asked me to interview Mr. Demetrius Weaver.
Okay, is that, tell the jury who Mr. Wheeler was, your understanding of the case at the time before you took the statement.
From my understanding, Demetrius Wheeler had been accused of assaulting another female at Jack Brooks Airport where he worked at. That was my understanding.
Okay, now, so in regards to this, the suspect, how would he, at that point in the investigation, how was he labeled, or how did you at the sheriff's office, what do they refer to?
A suspect.
Okay, so do you have special rules when you are interviewing a suspect? Meaning that, like, you ask them if they, you know, lawyer, do you go through their Miranda rights, make sure that if they want to come in voluntarily? Is that
Right.
right?
If they volunteer to come in, we just take a voluntary statement.
Okay, do you explain to them or give them admonishments about how that, you know, they don't have, they have a right to remain silent, right to have an attorney, all those things? When
I
they
tell
come
them
in?
they have a right to free to leave at any point in time.
Okay, now, did you follow all those protocols when Mr. Wheeler came in?
I don't believe it.
Okay, is that normal for you to do? In most cases where a suspect voluntarily comes in to give a statement?
Yes.
Okay, now, when was that, did you call to make the appointment for the statement, or was that Mr. Gardner?
I believe Mr. Detective Gardner called
Okay, and where did it occur? Where did the statement?
in my office,
Okay, and that's located where?
second floor of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office.
Now, that's connected to this building, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's
Just
the
over on the other side.
other side of the building,
Yes, sir.
so it's a different office, but it's in this building, right? Okay, now, do you recognize, and you were assigned Mr. Wheeler, Demetrius Wheeler, to interview him on that date and that time on 6/24?
Yeah.
Do you, I mean, was that the person that you interviewed?
Yes.
Before? Okay.
Yes.
Did you see him here in court?
Yes, sir.
Will you we'll point to him, describe an article of clothing he's wearing?
Yes, sir. It's a gentleman right there in the black shirt.
Let the record reflect the defendant, the witnesses identified the defendant, Demetrius Wheeler. Young.
The record will so reflect.
When was Mr. Wheeler by himself when he came in?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you told him it was a voluntary statement, he could free to leave at any time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is it normal for y'all to provide somebody the opportunity to come in and give a voluntary statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is not something you had done first time at this point?
Right.
Okay, how many would you say you have done like this? Few or many occasions?
Haven't been, I hate to even say.
Were you trained to administer voluntary statements?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and this was, I want to make sure this was done on 6/24/2021. Is that correct? Meaning June 24th.
Mhm.
Okay, and your understanding is the allegation of an assault that happened the day before. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I see you looking at, are you referring to your report?
Yes, sir.
To refresh your recollection.
Yes, sir.
Now, when you write a report as when you were a patrol officer and also as a detective, what's the reason for writing a report?
So that way you can recall at a later date.
Okay, and like today, when you're here in court discussing it, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that fair? So it's important that you write it down, do all those things and refresh your recollection. Now, was this the only case that you investigated in your whole career?
No, sir.
Okay, would you say you have few or many cases where you investigated?
I investigated about 250 each year.
Okay, so, and it's roughly 2 years ago. So you slept since then, and you also had other assault cases you've investigated.
Yes, sir.
Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
So would you tell us when you came in, you gave Mr. Wheeler, who's sitting at the table here, the opportunity to answer questions? He knew he didn't have to be there. He could leave at any time. All those things were given to him. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did he agree voluntarily to talk to you about it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, how do you conduct your interviews? Do you just let them look, okay, here's what I'm here talking about? Would you tell me your account, or how do you do that?
Depends on the interview, depends on the person. You know, we sat down in our office that day,
Okay,
and I may ask them questions as to, you know why you're here, and kind of lead into it like that. Or sometimes some people just automatically know why they're there and start talking.
okay. Now, and do you stop them, or do you just let them talk?
I let people talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did Mr. Wheeler voluntarily agree to talk and wanted to tell you his side of this?
Yes, sir.
Did he know why he was there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, and you don't have to be specific about that, but do you remember if he admitted to having any at least there was a dispute on June 23rd, 2021?
Seems like they had some words over the phone.
Okay, did he tell you exactly what he remembers about what was being said? If you need to refer to your report, that's okay.
You mean what they said to each other over the phone?
I mean, yeah, the conversation.
Okay. He said he called to American Airlines to find out the flight's schedule so he could draft his paperwork for the refueling of the plane. And Ms. Casmore answered the phone and began speaking with him about the schedule. He said that they began horseplaying over the phone, and Ashanti Moore asked who was on the phone, and Mr. Wheeler told Casmore to tell Moore to stay in her lane, and I'm not getting into it today.
Okay, what does that mean to you as you do your training and experience, meaning that statement that the defendant?
Stay in your lane. Stay to yourself, mind your own business.
Okay. Now, what else did he say?
Moore told Wheeler she would hang up the phone on his ass, and then Mr. Wheeler told Moore he would put his foot in her ass, and Moore hung up the phone.
Okay, so the defendant said to you that he told Ms. Moore he would put his foot in her ass.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, did he tell you what he did next?
He drove to the commercial terminal and went to the American Airlines office where Casmore and Wheeler were located. And he walked into the airline office where Casmore began smiling whenever he walked in, and Wheeler walked to Moore and pulled her chair out.
So the defendant, Mr. Wheeler, said to you that he walked and pulled the chair out
Yes,
from Ashanti Moore.
yes.
Okay. Did he say that he was playing around with her when he did that?
Yes, Wheeler, he had quoted, Wheeler said, I'm just playing with you.
Right, he said he was just playing with her.
Yes.
Now, did he tell you if Ms. Moore thought she was playing or thought that this was okay?
He didn't state whether or not how she felt.
And did he say how Ms. Casemore felt or how she was acting?
Not that I can see. I'll let you can.
Now, did he say that what he did after he did this?
They spoke about the flight, and then Wheeler left the office and carried on with his job.
Did he admit to putting his hands on Miss Ashanti Moore?
No, he did not.
He said he pulled a chair, but he didn't put his hands on
Sure.
her. And he was clear about that.
Yes, sir.
And he said he was playing around about that.
Yes, sir. At the end of my interview, I did ask him that.
Okay, and why would you ask him those things?
Just at the end of my interviews, I want to get out there plain and clear for everybody to know, you know, after you told me your story and everything else, did you do whatever it is the case is? And just that way everybody has a clear, no, my answer is no, I did not do this, or yes, I did, you know, either one.
Yeah, did you have an opportunity to review the statements of Ms. Casemore or Ms. Moore before you did your interview?
No, I did not.
Okay. But he admitted everything up to saying, but he didn't put his hands on it. He pulled a chair, but he didn't put his hand on it.
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you have anything further to do with this case other than the interview?
Just the interview.
Like, Judge, I've got the witness.
Mr. West, you may proceed.
No question, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused?
Please, Judge.
Mr. West? May this witness be excused?
Yeah, I think this witness at all.
Okay, Detective Williamson, the rule has been invoked. And basically, what that means is once you're ordered to leave the courtroom, you cannot talk to any one of the witnesses about your case or anyone else unless you're talking to one of the attorneys. You cannot read any reports or documents regarding this case. If you violate any part of this rule, you're subject to being held in contempt of court. So you're excused. You may step down from the witness stand and you have a blessed day.
Thank you.
You are. Mr. Hallfire, you can call your next witness.
So you got Matt Gardner.
Matt Gardner.
Yes. He's been previously sworn, placed on the rule here yesterday.
Officer Gardner,
Yes.
you've previously been sworn in.
Yes.
Take the witness stand. Please adjust the microphone and the chair. So how far you may proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. Please,
You're welcome.
court counsel. Please state your name for the record, please.
My name is Matt Gardner.
Ms. Gardner, are you currently employed with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office? Right, and what are your duties with the Sheriff's Office?
Currently, I'm assigned to the Internal Affairs Division.
Okay, is that a part of the Criminal Investigation Division, or is that's another?
It's
division?
separate.
Okay, would you tell the jury what IA or Internal Affairs, what their duties are and what your job is?
Well, I investigated internal complaints reference to misbehavement, accusations against staff,
Okay,
handle grievances within the correctional facility.
Okay.
I've been doing that for just a few weeks since I left Criminal Investigation Division.
okay. Now, are you a certified peace officer in the state of Texas?
I am
How long have you been certified?
certified peace officer since 2009.
Okay, so pretty long time.
Yeah, I've been with the department for 20 years.
Okay, 20 years. And where did you receive your education in order to become a certified?
The Jefferson County Sheriff's Academy.
Here within Jefferson County
Yes,
the
sir.
sheriff's office conducts its own.
We have our own academy. I was actually an instructor in that in the past.
Okay, and I've done that too, part of the district attorney does that.
Yeah.
So with Mr. West, it counts. Now, in regards to were you a certified peace officer on June 23rd, 2021?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and were you working as a detective in the criminal investigation division at the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office?
I was.
Okay, now you're not wearing a uniform as a deputy, you have a uniform, but
I have one, but it's strictly for funerals, I would say.
understood. So the detective, y'all wear suit and tie.
Yes,
Is that right? Okay, so that's your uniform now. Is that
Yes,
fair? Okay, now, in regards to, would you tell what, as a CID, I mean, do you move from patrol to CID and move up? That's a general progression in your career?
It's a lateral move, but yes, it's something where you have to be selected.
Okay. So how long were you a detective with the criminal investigation division?
7 years.
Okay. Did that include investigation of specific crimes or was it all manner of crimes?
I started off with, persons and property crimes. For majority of my time, I was specialized in special crimes
Okay.
involving women and children.
Okay.
But I worked on cases at that time too.
Okay. Now, as a patrol officer, did you investigate or go out on calls for assault bodily injury cases?
I did.
Okay. You go out on felony assault cases, which are most likely more heinous or have victims are children, those type of
Yes.
cases. Okay, how many would you say, few or many that you investigated?
Other than burglary alarms, it's probably the most common call was for domestic disturbances.
Okay,
At least 1 or 2 a week, I would think.
so a lot.
Right.
Okay, now in this particular, and we're talking specifically about an assault that occurred on June 23rd,
Yes.
allegedly, and 2021, and the place it occurred is within the terminal at Jack Brooks Regional Airport.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are you familiar with that case?
I am.
Okay. Did you conduct an investigation on that case?
I did.
Okay, now tell the jury how it works with an officer who's reporting first on the scene and how it gets to a detective. Briefly.
Yeah, unless it's like an armed robbery, something extremely serious, homicide attempted. We don't go out at the time of the incident. The deputy takes a report. They submit the report to their supervisor, gets approved. The following morning, one of the detectives or detective supervisor will gather reports, issue them out for a detective to work on.
Okay.
So it's typically by 8:30 in the morning or so.
And it's the supervisor in the ID, is it fair to say that they assign certain detectives to certain cases?
Unless there's overflow, basically, if someone's really busy and someone else doesn't have a lot in their specialty, then we get the overflow.
Okay. Now, what kind of case was this particular, where did that qualify under the alleged assault that occurred at the terminal
Right.
in Jack Brooks Regional?
And it's a class A misdemeanor assault.
Now, Jack Brooks Regional Airport is within Beaumont city limits? Or is
It's
it-
unincorporated.
Okay.
Beaumont. It's got a Beaumont address, but it's Jefferson County.
Is my next question is it Jefferson County, Texas?
Yes.
Now, and according to when you got the case, did you determine that this occurred within the limits of Jefferson County, Texas,
Yes, sir.
the county? Okay, now, what did you look at when you're investigating that? What are you looking for?
Most importantly, to see if the elements of the offense have been established as alleged by the complainant.
Now, on an assault case, tell the jury, what are you looking for? What's important about an assault case to determine whether or not it meets the elements? Other than, it has to happen in Jefferson County, Texas, got to be on the date, within the jurisdiction and whether or not it was intentional, those kind of things. But more importantly, what are we looking for?
There's a class C assault when it's just unwanted touching. Class A misdemeanor assault is going to be when there's some kind of bodily injury or causes the victim to experience pain.
So pain is
Yes.
here. Now, when you were investigating as the initial officer on the scene, is that one of the questions you definitely had in an allegation of assault? Okay.
Yeah, they're supposed to ask, where did they assault you? What did they use? And did you experience pain?
Okay.
Or sometimes other elements, but mainly the pain.
Okay, and remind us about visible injuries is required. Meaning a parent of visible injuries whenever the officer gets on the scene.
Right.
Is that a pass or fail?
No, not all pain results in a visible injury.
Okay. Now, did you learn that in the academy or did you learn that through your 20 years experience as an officer?
Both.
Okay. So what do you do or what did you do when you came on the scene and do your investigation?
After I reviewed the report, body cam video, I contacted the complainant to just clarify her intentions to pursue charges, to clarify her expressing whether or not they caused her to feel pain.
Okay, so you went back over that, right? Now, was that Miss Ashanti Moore?
Yes.
And did she say it caused her pain?
Well, I'd asked her, I said, are you still experiencing pain or did you at the time? And she said it still hurt a little.
Okay. So did you ask about other people that may have witnessed it, or did you go further into get her to tell you what happened?
Both.
Did both? Okay. Did she tell you what happened?
She did.
Now, did it match what you had from her witness statement? You had a witness statement for me at the time, correct?
I don't recall if it was a video statement or written
Okay.
statement, but yes.
Okay, so if it didn't, right, if it totally off, would that be a concern?
Well, I mean, if there's no consistency, then that's cause for concern.
So it's fair you say you found consistency in what you had in the statement versus what she told you on the phone?
Yes,
Okay, and were you sure you were speaking with Ashanti Moore?
yes.
Okay, now, was she sure about who the person was that allegedly assaulted her on June 23rd, 2021?
She was.
Okay, and who was that?
She identified him as Demetrius Wheeler,
Okay, now, did she know Mr. Wheeler?
through work, yes.
Okay. Did she tell you that she had a playful, good relationship? That he was a friend of hers?
That he did?
Yes.
Yes.
Good with her or Miss Casman?
With Ms. Casmore. I think it's Tamira
Tamira?
Casmore.
Now, how did you know Miss Casmore was a witness?
Well, Miss Moore had said that was her coworker that was in the room with her when the incident occurred.
Okay, now, how many people were in there according to Miss Moore?
The three of them.
And nobody else? Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Did she tell you if she knew about the relationship between Miss Casmore and the defendant?
She just said they had a playful relationship at work.
Did she say she had the same kind of relationship with the defendant?
Her words were something that I don't play like that.
Okay,
In other words, she more professional, so I believe she tried to make it sound.
okay. Did she give you all the information you asked for? Meaning that did she hold back in any information that you requested from her?
She didn't seem to.
Did you contact Ms. Casmore?
I attempted to.
Okay, now tell us what you did and how many times you tried to contact her.
I don't recall how many, it was several, tried phone calls. And I even asked Ms. Moore if she could contact her by phone, text, at work, whatever it was, and asked her to call me. And I even went up there to try to get in touch with her.
Okay, did you ever speak with Ms. Casmore about this?
I did not.
Okay, and you left the voicemails?
Yes,
You left message at work?
yes.
You even got Ms. Moore to contact you?
And I talked to the supervisor as well and asked about
And this was at American Airlines
it at the terminal.
at the terminal, so. Is there anything more you could have done to try to get Ms. Casmore other than put surveillance on her to catch her and talk to her?
I could have tried to go to the house, but at that point I was told by everybody that she wanted nothing to do with the investigation.
And she never told you that?
No.
But
Couldn't get her to tell me.
she wouldn't tell you even that?
Right.
Okay. Now. So what else did you do as part of this investigation?
There was three other ladies that Ms. Moore said would be considered witnesses due to a FaceTime video call that she was on. She gave me names and phone numbers, and I tried calling all of them.
Now, just and understanding that anything you can find out, that's what you do, right? So, but as far as a FaceTime call, as a vote, I want you to tell us what would be a better account of it, based on call of someone or a person standing in the room when the allegation occurred?
Well, I mean, you have a narrow field of view on FaceTime calls, so I would assume that an in-person witness would be the best person to give information.
And who was that?
That was Ms. Cadmore.
Now, what else did you contact the defendant to see if he would come in for a voluntary statement?
I did,
And did he agree to do that?
he did.
Okay. Did you get to conduct the voluntary statement or did another detective?
Another detective did. I don't recall the exact reason, but as I said, I work special crimes and might have had a conflicting interview at the guardhouse I had to go to.
Now, and just for the jury knows, that Garth House is our child advocacy center. Is that right? So anything in regards to investigations of child sexual abuse, child abuse,
Physical abuse, yes.
felonies that take precedent, and the timing of it is paramount,
Yes, sir.
right? So is it normal for you to ask another detective to fill in for you on a statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the Garth House stuff takes precedent.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just give the other detective a quick brief on the details and what questions I'm interested in.
Okay. Did you do that in this case?
I did.
And who conducted the interview for you?
That was Detective Chad Williamson. He's a sergeant now.
Now, after this, and the defendant came in and gave a voluntary statement, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, did you continue to try to talk to Ms. Casmore? The last, I'm gonna call him, leave another voicemail, do what I can to speak with him.
I believe I did, as well as the FaceTime call recipients there.
Okay. And did you ever get Ms. Casmore
Never,
call you, talk to you, say she would come in?
never, hadn't seen her, spoken to her, none of that.
Now, did you do anything more in regard to this case other than what we've talked about today? Is it your job to determine whether or not you have the elements of a crime, or at least have the elements to submit a case to the district attorney?
Yes, sir. If the elements of the offense are met based on the allegation, then we go ahead and draft an affidavit, send it to the district attorney's office, and let the intake department make a decision on it.
Okay, now, as you, through your training and experience, and your job is to take the officer and evaluate the evidence, gain more if possible, to make that determination of whether or not you have enough probable cause to submit an affidavit, right? Did you do that in this particular case?
Yes,
So you believe that there was evidence of the elements to prove the crime, at least for an affidavit of probable cause?
yeah, based on her allegations saying that she experienced pain, it was enough to send over to people ahead.
Anything else, Jeff? Anything else officer to do with this, or once you send that affidavit?
No, after that, if they don't defer the case back, requesting additional information, then that's the end of it until we come forward.
Thank you, officer. I'll pass it with you.
Mr. West?
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You don't understand one of my questions, just let me know. We've done this before.
Yes, sir.
You didn't see this incident happen, did
Was not there.
you? Okay. You didn't get involved until the next day, is that right? Okay. So everything that you were recalling is from your report, right?
Yes, sir.
You had to review your report to remember kind of what this case is about.
Yes, sir. It's been a couple years.
Yeah, because it's not something that just happened a couple months ago. It's been a while back. Yeah. Okay, but let me ask you this, something you mentioned a moment ago, and the reason I'm getting up here to talk to you is that, so would Ms. Casmore be the best witness on what really happened?
You would think the person there would be the best witness, but with her not cooperating, that's why I look for other witnesses.
Oh, sure, not saying anything in your
Right, right.
investigation, you did exactly what you're supposed
I
to
would
do.
expect her to have the most accurate information.
Right, that's what I'm getting at. With obviously the victim and the defendant are probably gonna be biased towards their positions, correct? Okay, and that's why you as a detective look for independent witnesses.
Yes, sir. Try to corroborate one side or the other.
Right, to match up which side this independent witness matches up to,
Yes.
most. But everybody sees stuff a little different, right?
Right.
Well, I think,
So how far?
Thank you, police counsel. Now, Council just asked you who would be the best witness to the case. Okay, and I believe he was talking about Ms. Casmore, but what about the person allegedly experiencing that, the complaint
Outside of the victim, yes. Sir.
outside the victim?
Yes.
So really, the best witness would be what the person this occurred to.
Correct.
Now, could Ms. Casmore, through your training and experience, tell you about whether or not it caused pain to Ms. Moore?
I wouldn't think so without hearing something that she might have thought, was an expression of pain or seeing an injury.
Now, would Ms. Moore be able to tell you that?
Yes,
And did she tell you?
she did.
Okay, now, did Ms. Casmore tell you anything?
Not a word.
And you gave her multiple times to tell you what you saw?
Yes, sir.
That's a witness.
Mr. West,
Nothing further, Your Honor.
may this witness be excused?
Please, Judge.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Detective Gardner, just a reminder, you're under the rule. If you violate the rule, you can be held in contempt of court. You are excused. You may step down from the witness stand and you have a blessed day.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Allfire, you can call your next
Your
witness.
Honor, this is not a state road.
Mr. West?
Call Demetrius Whitman.
Okay. Mr. Wheeler, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Wheeler, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You may put your hand down, Mr. Wheeler. You can have a seat in the witness stand. You can adjust the seat and the microphone. Mr. West, the
Thank you, Your
witness is yours.
You've already been introduced to the jury, but state your name for the record.
Demetrius Wheeler.
All right, we've heard some stuff about you already, but tell me a little bit about you. You married?
I was married
Was married, okay. Okay. How long ago were you divorced?
about 7, 8 months ago.
Okay, so it's pretty recently. You were married at the time this incident happened.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, okay. Got any kids?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how many kids you got?
I have 4 kids, but my one that was with my ex-wife is 19.
Where do you work?
I work for the county. I work at the airport.
Okay, and we heard about that earlier. You work as a fuel handler, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
That's still what you do?
Yes, sir.
And what is exactly, I mean, I got an idea, but do exactly what it sounds like. You fill up airplanes when they come in?
Well, we only don't. We fill up airplanes with, when they have a fuel order, we also tow them. And we also are part of the first responder team.
Okay, so it's more than just fueling up planes. You have other duties you have to do as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but you're out there on the runway taking care of planes, more or less, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is it a busy airport?
At times,
Okay, at times. Well, commercially, there's only what, 4 or 5 flights a day?
it all depends on what type of unit it is. It differs.
Okay. But what I'm getting at, we're not talking about like Mr. Hoffmeyer said, we're not like talking about Houston Bush Airport, are we? We're talking about a small airport.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But there's also non-commercial flights that fly in and out of private planes, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you also fuel and take care of those planes as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So that's what I'm getting at is that there might not be a lot of commercial flights in and out, but there's a lot of flights overall
Yes,
for an airport that size.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you keep pretty busy.
Yes, sir.
As part of that job, do you interact with, like you heard, the commercial side of the airport, the American Airlines?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And tell us about that. What happens?
Well, on average, they call and give us the fuel order, and what time the plane will arrive.
So you guys get the tanker trucks ready and get ready to come over to where the plane's parked and fill it back up for them?
We actually, yes.
Let's go back to the date that's in question here. You've heard plenty of testimony about it. Were you guys waiting on a plane to come in that day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is that why you were on the phone with Ms. Casmore?
Yes, sir.
And you know Ms. Casimir through your job, is that correct?
Correct.
Is she one of the people that you talk to at that time on a daily basis almost?
We talk to all of them on a daily basis.
Ms. Moore as well, right?
Yes, sir.
And the other supervisors that we already heard about, everybody at American Airlines,
Yes, sir.
just whoever picked up the phone.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you didn't really care who you talked to, as long as you talked to somebody that could tell you when the plane was coming in and how much fuel they needed.
Exactly.
But on this day, you talked to Ms. Casimir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we heard a moment ago about you and Ms. Casimir were joking around. Did y'all have a joking kind of relationship?
We all did.
Everybody did, okay?
Yes, sir.
It's kind of the way you got through your day. Y'all joked around,
Yes, sir.
you and your coworkers,
Yes, sir.
American Airlines people,
Yes, sir.
other people at the airport. If there's any other people, I'm not sure what else there is, but everybody at the airport, right?
Yes, sir.
That day, what happened?
That day, my supervisor, which was Rob Green on that day, asked me, he said, well, did the flight schedule change? I said, well, I don't know. And he said, did you call? I said, no, I didn't call. He said, well, call him. He said, because the flight schedule that we have showed that the plane should have been landing at 3 o'clock. And no one called, nobody said it was a delay, and no one gave us no information. So I called. Samir answered the phone. And I asked her, I say, where is it a delay? She said, no, it's not a delay. The flight schedule changed. I said, well, we don't have a day flight schedule. And in the background, that's when I heard Ashanti ask who it was. And I did tell her to stay in her lane because
You were talking to her,
I
right?
wasn't talking to her, and that happens all the time. Not just with me, but with other people also that work with me. So we continue on having a conversation. And yes, I did say what the director said that I said.
And you did say you put a boot over her ass, something like that, right?
Yes, sir, I did say.
Let's talk about that real quick, because I know you would talk about it before. You regret saying that, don't you?
I do, because you know you're joking with someone, but you never thought it'd end up in here.
Okay. You didn't really mean that you were gonna attack her or anything, did you?
No, sir.
Okay.
I got a daughter, no, sir.
You just joking around, right?
Yes, sir.
And you realize now that it's probably over the line. You probably shouldn't have said it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Keep going. Okay, so you're talking to her, and then what happens next?
And then she said, she said, well, tell him that I'm gonna hang the phone up. I told her, I said, I'm not talking to her. Why would she hang up the phone? And then the phone would click.
Okay.
So when the phone would click, my boss asked me, he said, well, what did you find out? I said, actually, nothing. They hung up on me. He said, could you go over there and get a report of the new schedule or find out what we're doing because we got other stuff to do. So I got in the county truck and I went over there. So when I walked in there, her supervisor, which was Rosie, Miss Watkins, was at the door of the picture.
Right.
I stopped, I talked to Rosie, she was on a cell phone. And after I talked to her, I stepped into the office, which was right behind her. And to me, she looked at me and she smiled and she waved. I smiled and waved. And I reached for Ashanti's chair and I pulled the chair. And when I pulled the chair, she looked back and I put my hand on her shoulder just like that. And that was it. And then I stood there and talked to them.
About the flight schedule?
About the flight schedule. Not Ashanti, but Samira. She typed it out on the computer, it bring it up, she gave it to me. And I left. Before I left, I talked to Rosie again. And I told her, I say, I got the flight schedule that you never sent me because there's always a conflict with that. I said, I got the flight schedule you never gave me. And she said, okay. And I left.
Yeah.
And that was it.
But then later you got brought back over to the office. Why?
Because when I got back over to the office and after the plane had landed and we done the search for fuel, my supervisor asked me, he said, what happened? I said, what you talking about? He said, well, Rosie just called and said that Ashanti called her boyfriend and said that you choked her. And I said, what? He said, no, that's what he said, whatever you do, don't get involved because you're gonna lose your job. I said, well, I didn't do nothing. And then she was more like, well, y'all need to come back over here. And so by that time, he said, well, I gotta go make a statement, let's go over there. So when we got ready to go, her boyfriend walks through the door. And
Where
it was-
are you at this time?
I'm at Jefferson County on
But
on
you
my
had-
side, the private side, not the commercial
So
side.
again, you're over in your part of the airport.
Yes.
You know, her boyfriend came over there.
And he came over there.
Does he work at the airport too?
No, sir.
Keep going.
He doesn't work for the county at all, that I know of. He came in and he was like, hey, man, got a question for you. And I was like, okay. And he said, I ain't come over here for no conflict, but what did you do to Ashanti? I said, I didn't do nothing to Ashanti. Well, she called me and said, you choked her. I said, no, I didn't. I said, I put my hand on her shoulder after I pulled the chair. I said, I can never choke her. And he was like, well, is that what y'all do? I said, we always joke around. I said, every one of us over there. Well, you don't have no business over there. I said, I have every right to be over there. I'm not restricted from the FAA 103. I'm able to go anywhere on this airport. You don't tell me where to go. And he was like, well, I think you need to go apologize. I said, apologize for what? Well, she said you choked her. I said, dude, I did not choke the girlfriend. I said, I have at that time a wife and a 19-year-old daughter. And I said, why would I do that to somebody when I wouldn't want that done to my people? And he was like, understand that. And then he was like, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you? At that time, I was 50 years old. He said, he did the shoulders like this, say, all due respect, because he was saying it to my daddy. He said, well, what brought all this about? I said, she got a real bad attitude. I said, and every time nothing goes her way when nobody talks to her, this is what she do. He said, I understand that. I got that problem too. He said, but we gonna work on that. I said, well, you do what you want. I said, but I didn't choke her. And then me and my supervisor, we all went over there.
Okay. At that point, you and your supervisor went back to the American Airlines?
Yes.
office? Okay. Who was there when you got back to that office?
When we got back to the office, it was Ashanti, Tamara, Rosie, Ashley, and her boyfriend.
And who's Ashley?
Ashley's the other supervisor that was in the back.
And then your supervisor, what was his name?
Rob Green.
He came with you too, right?
Yes, sir.
Y'all talk about what happened?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As far as you know, did American Airlines do an investigation into what happened?
I don't know, sir.
Okay. Did the county do an investigation on what happened?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You were actually placed on leave, is that correct?
I was suspended for 2 weeks, so
2 weeks.
119 hours of
Okay.
lost pay.
While the county investigated on what happened, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. To determine whether, like you said, to terminate you or not.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because obviously if the county would have found out that you did something, they would have, too much liability, had to get rid of you, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Where do you work today?
At Jefferson County Airport.
So you went back to work,
Yes, sir.
okay? So despite the allegations, they still put you back to work,
Yes, sir.
right? Now, you did miss 2 weeks of work and miss the pay there, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you ever grab her neck?
No, sir.
Did you ever get hostile or aggressive towards her?
No, sir.
Despite saying that you had put her foot in her ass, were you mad at her?
No, sir.
You didn't take any of the things you said as mean or hostile, did you?
No, sir.
They weren't mean, they weren't meant to be mean or hostile, were they?
No, sir.
Okay. Just playing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you understand now it's out of line.
I understand now that you can't joke around with everybody.
Yeah.
Yes,
Only people that you know you can joke around with.
yes, sir.
You do admit that you pulled her chair back,
I did.
okay, and you did put your hand on her shoulder.
I did.
Did you squeeze her shoulder or was it just basically laying your hand on her
I
shoulder?
just laid my hand on the shoulder.
Did you like cuss at her or anything like that?
No, sir.
Did you just talk about the schedule?
We just started talking about the schedule and we was laughing. And the next thing I know, I'm getting called over for something I didn't do.
So you were shocked that this was going on.
Yes, sir.
That's the witness.
Mr. Harper,
Thank you, Council. How you doing, Mr. Wheeler?
That's fine, sir.
Mr. Wheeler, I'm gonna ask some questions, in regards to what you said. Right? Now, you talked about that you communicate with the airline, I mean, you communicate with both Ms. Casemore and Ms. Moore, right? Is that right?
I said we communicate with everyone over there.
Everyone over there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, because were they working there on the date, June 23rd, 2021.
Yes, they were.
And you knew them before this, both of them.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you said that y'all mess around at work, right? Now, that's not different than any other place, right? Do you understand? Meaning that.
I understand, yes.
Now, but is messing around, are you saying that the language was used that day is a normal thing that y'all do in the airport, working between a commercial airline and the county that runs the airport? You threaten each other over the phone about putting person that is.
It has happened from time to time, and it has been this with me, yeah, but
Okay. So that's normal.
time to time, yes, sir.
And your counsel asked you whether or not you were mad at Miss Moore. But that, and you said, I'm not mad, I'm just messing around with all of them. But that's not really true, is it? I mean, you smarted back to her, not that, you know, she didn't smart back at you, but it escalated. Can you agree with me on that?
I disagree.
You disagree that you ended when I'm gonna put my foot up your ass?
I disagree that I wasn't mad. I disagree that everything you saying that escalated didn't escalate, and anything escalate.
Well, agree with me on this, that you're calling, right, to find out about a flight that, at least for your information, correct me if I'm wrong, both you and your supervisor are mad because you weren't notified about the flight and when it was supposed to come in.
No, sir, no one was mad. It was just a misunderstanding because we didn't have the up-to-date flight schedule.
But you
It
said,
wasn't no one mad. It just said that
Okay.
it happens all the time if they don't communicate with us on the new schedule.
does that frustrate you or anybody you work with? Like it sounds like this said that it happens all the time, and I call them and you told the other one when you walked out, here's the one y'all didn't send me. That's not frustration?
No, it's not, because we open 24 hours a day, sir, and we serve planes 24 hours, 365 a year.
Okay.
So whenever they come,
Yes, that's the question I asked, Your Honor. Didn't I ask you whether or not that
No.
was frustration?
Okay, Mr. Wheeler, just please answer the question as has been asked.
yes,
Okay, you may proceed.
And I'm not, those things in which I just said is what you testified to, right? All those things you were told by your supervisor to call. And you're telling me you're not frustrated at all by the fact that you're finding out late and your department is finding out late from American Airlines. And you said it's a continuous problem that we always have. And I was just joking with all of them about it, that you weren't perturbed or upset at the time.
no, sir, I wasn't.
It wasn't a little on you, you can't even admit it was a little on your nerves.
No, sir, I wasn't.
It was, you were skipping the dog, doing a normal job. I go over there and I get this information. Is that what you're telling us here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if you love those girls, every one of them in your office, like it was your sister or your wife.
Not gonna lie.
Okay. Formally, right? But my point is to say that you had a close relationship with these y'all don't work together, but you do work together, right? Okay. Now, how long did you work with Ms. Cable?
I've been there 12 years, sir.
Okay, and she's been there around 9.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, Ms. Moore been there as long as you've been?
I don't.
Okay. Do you know Ms. Case more better than you know Ms. Moore?
No, sir.
You don't at all?
No, sir.
You joke around more with Ms. Case more as opposed to Ms. Moore?
No, sir.
Okay, so you would tell Ms. Case more you're gonna stick with her asked to. What about somebody who doesn't work there, who asks you a question about your job? All right, now here's a more important question. Let me rephrase that. When you told your supervisor what happened, did you tell him exactly what you said to the girl over the phone?
Yes, sir, I did.
You said verbatim that I told him I'll put my foot on my.
Yes, sir, I did.
Are you sitting there under oath telling me that you told your supervisor that? You told that story of all that, or did you leave out the part of y'all talking through the phone?
No, sir, I did.
Okay.
I told him everything that I said, sir.
You told him everything you said, and you stand by it like it was as counsel. Is that right?
Stand by because that's what I said, sir. I'm not denying what I said, sir.
Okay. And you're not denying that you went to their office, right? Not your office. That's not in the same building, right? You went to that building
I was told by my supervisor to go to that meeting.
Were you told to go into the American Airlines office and grab the chair of Ashanti Moore and pull her towards you and then put your hands on her? Was that part of your instruction from your supervisor?
No, sir, it wasn't,
Well, then why did you do it?
because everybody knows around, sir.
Is that your office?
No, sir,
Whose office? is it?
Jefferson County's office.
But the American Airlines is it? Now you told this jury, to make sure we're clear, you're one of 3 people who can go where they want to. Nobody tells you nothing but you about where you can go in that airport.
Everybody that works for the county can go all over the airport, sir.
Did you not say to this jury that you are one of 3 people has an FAA clearance to go anywhere he wants to go and nobody tells you what to do? You told the boyfriend that, right? I go where I want to go. Didn't you say that? Well, we can check the record.
You can check the record. I said, with any employee, it's not just me. I can't be singled out, sir, because all employees that work for the county.
Understood. So what I'm saying is that that's a business inside the county's airport, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you telling this jury here that you got a right to go right in there and do what you want, say what you want, and do what you want just because your employment with the Jefferson County Airport?
I have a right to go in there, but not to say and do what I want, no, sir.
Okay. But do you have a right to go in there without their permission?
Yes, sir.
Who gives you that right?
The county gave me that right, sir.
So you overrule the American Airlines and their
We are not
business.
restricted from going in that area because we have to help them sometimes with stuff on the plane, sir.
Okay. My question is, do you have the ability to go walk through that business? Even though it's on the county property and you're a county employee, can you walk in there and get on their computer and look up anything you want to do and do anything like that? Or is that a business?
No, sir.
You don't have that right.
No, sir.
Okay. Do you have a right to enter into that property without one of them present at the time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. To get things out of that office?
No, sir.
You've got a key to that office?
We have a master key to every door and lock on the person.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Are you subject to censor at work or anything if you were caught in there when you're not supposed to be in?
We don't go in there when we're not supposed to be in there.
Okay.
We go in there when we are called to come in there.
So what I want to be clear is you were there on instruction by your supervisor to go in there and find out what's wrong. Why are y'all not getting notice about the flight?
Supervisor instructed me to go get this new flight schedule. Yes, sir.
After you telling this jury, you told them everything that you said about Ms. Moore and everything she said about you, or was just like, well, they won't tell me to go there and find out. You're telling me that you didn't you told him every word.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and he was off, oh, great, you're acting perfectly professional. Please continue to go in that office and act.
No, that's not what it said.
Because he wouldn't say that, would he?
No, he said I don't use that kind of word, those kind of words.
He did say that.
Yeah, he told me I shouldn't use those kind of
Okay.
words.
Did he tell you maybe somebody else should need to go in there? Because you sound kind of hot. You sound kind of like you're a little bit
No,
mad.
no, sir.
He didn't tell you. And you're telling us you told him everything about
What about it? Yes, sir.
it. Okay. Now, question was, counsel asked you whether or not you put your hands and touched Ms. Moore, right? What did you say the first time he asked you? That I never touched her, I never put my hands on her.
No, sir.
You did. We can check the record. You said, I never touched you. And then he asked another question. No, we'll be clear. Then you had another question. Well, you did put your hands on her, but you put it on her shoulder. Right? So what is it? Did you not touch her or did you touch her? Or are you, I guess my question is that are you trying to say that your touching was playful, it was touching, it was near her neck, but it wasn't choking like she's saying? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
No, sir.
What is it?
I touched on the shoulder.
Then why did you say when he asked you first time, did you ever touch Ms. Moore?
Because he asked me, his question was, what did I do? And I told him exactly what I did.
All right, now here's another thing about that. Now, you heard the detective testify. You gave a statement, voluntarily went in there and gave a statement. What did you tell him? Did you tell him you put your hand on her shoulder and moved it back?
No, what I told him was, I pulled the chair back and I put my hand on her shoulder. Now, what he wrote in his report, that's on him.
So you're saying that the detective who took the statement wrote that you never put your hands on her twice in there. And you're saying you said it when in court, you pulled the chair back and you put your hands on her. And you said, I never touched her. I never put my hands on her, never touched her. You agreed you were there and you pulled a chair, but you didn't touch her. And now it's I to put my hand on her shoulder. And the first time he asked that, you said, I never touched her. And then he got into it. Oh, well, I guess I put my hand on her shoulder. Which is it?
I pulled the chair and I put my hand on her shoulder.
Did she know you were coming in? Did she see you before that?
I don't know if she knew I was coming in.
Did Ms. Casemore?
No,
You just told him that Ms. Casemore looked at you and smiled.
no, you asked me, did they know I was coming in?
Did Ms. Moore know you were coming in?
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention if she knew I was coming in. I walked through the door and everybody turned around and looked at me and she was looking down at the phone.
So tell me why you think that it's okay. Yeah, a person that doesn't know you're coming for you to pull a chair. Tell me why you think that's all right. You had that relationship with Ms. Moore?
We all had that relationship.
Now, tell me why Ms. Moore came in there and said, I don't have a relationship. I don't play like that with him. I didn't think, look, I had no reason to think he was coming in my office and then attack me that way. So you're telling me that y'all are cool and all that, and that she's making all of this up. And just like Ms. Casemore came in to say that she's making, she gets emotional. But she overreacts. We're telling, both of y'all are telling us that that's how it happened, right?
That's true.
That she made up all of this.
That's true.
And you were totally surprised by it. I mean,
That's right.
okay. And there was an investigation done by the Jefferson County. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Was it the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office or was it Jefferson County, maybe the division that runs the airport?
Only investigation I know is my airport manager.
Exactly. So now for the purposes of what I'm talking about, even for American Airlines, that's a corporate investigation. Can we agree on that? That's a job.
I don't know what the investigation consists of, sir.
But it's not a criminal investigation or whether a crime was committed. Can we agree on that?
I don't know what his investigation consists of, sir.
Well, can you agree who investigated? Was it a supervisor or somebody at your division at the airport who did?
From what I gather, the airport manager investigated and the sheriff department.
Okay, well, but wait, can you agree that those are two things? And one is whether a crime is committed and one is whether or not you're conducting yourself properly as an employee, right?
Right.
So one of them is for one reason, one of them is for a totally other reason, right? And it ain't the same people doing it, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so whatever counsel asks you about in regards to whether or not you're working at the sheriff's office, that's not your determination of whether a crime was committed, right?
I'm working at the sheriff. I'll look at Jack.
Well, working for the county. Is that right?
Correct.
So what would that have to do with anything with whether or not a crime was committed?
Because if a crime was committed, sir, I wouldn't be working.
Well, isn't that what we're doing today to determine whether the jury, the county determine whether or not a crime was committed? Maybe the decision for your continued employment has to do with whether or not a jury of your peers that determines whether a crime was committed, not where you work. Right? Can we agree?
Work for the county and the county don't want to be justified for keeping somebody on for committing a crime.
Okay, so but who determines it?
At that point in time, I guess it was the sheriff department and my airport manager, because they was communicating with each other.
They investigate crime.
Okay.
Determination of whether a crime is committed are people sitting in this box. Okay. So once again, it was an investigation done by your employer and an investigation done by American Airlines, right?
I don't know what American Airlines is.
Okay.
I know it was by my employer and by Jefferson County Sheriff Department.
So why is it that Ms. Casemore came in and acted like she didn't remember anything?
That's a question you have to ask Ms. Scott.
I asked her, and I want some people try, but nobody seems to know why she didn't see and thought of this was nothing and can't remember despite giving statements of it.
I can't answer for Ms. Casper.
You didn't talk to Ms. Casmore
No, sir.
before that, right?
No, sir.
Okay, but you have a better relationship with Ms. Casmore than you do with Miss Ashanti Moore?
No, sir.
Okay, both of you are like sisters.
No, I don't need, no neither one off the job, sir.
Okay. But you can speak like that to both of them.
We all have, sir.
Okay, have you ever had or got perturbed or mad at Miss Moore because when you're answering the questions from Mr. West, it seemed that you had had issues, or at least you had gotten into it with Miss Moore verbally, I'm not saying physically, but verbally. Meaning that y'all go at it. Is that what you're telling this jury
No, we don't go ahead, sir.
at all?
No, we just, actually, when she answered the phone, we turned her in to our supervisor about how she answered the phone.
What is that? What does that mean? Explain that to me. About who answered wrong?
Ms. Moore.
So you're saying that the airport has attitude, they think Ms. Moore has an attitude problem,
Yes, sir.
okay? So and you're saying you don't have any problem with it, y'all never got into it over whether or not who's answering the phone. Well, but y'all look at each other and everybody knows, oh, we're dealing with Ms. Moore. And that's not a contentious relationship in any way. It's nothing but hearts and bubbles going on.
Exactly.
That's what it is, that's how it is.
Exactly.
And you're utterly surprised that she said you choked her,
I'm utterly surprised. Yes, sir.
but you can't remember whether or not you put your hand on her or you pulled it only the chair. Right? Because it gave those two different counts, two different investigation done, and the questions the counsel asked you, right? But you agreed that this was on this date, right? It was on June 23rd, 2021. It happened in the American Airlines office in the Jack Brooks Airport where you don't work, right? Your office is in another building, right? But you work. Nobody's going to argue with you about your ability to go anywhere you want to on that airport. Ain't nobody arguing, right? But this is an office of a business where Ms. Moore works and Ms. Casmore works. And you don't get a check from that, right?
The Jefferson County property, sir.
Once again, does that gives you right to go anywhere you want to, like you told counsel.
It gives me the right to go over there when they call all the time for our assistance, sir.
Did they call for your assistance on this day?
You know, sir, my boss told me over there to get a flight schedule, sir.
Did he tell you specifically, go in there and get that from Ms. Moore or go in there and get that from her? Or did he say go to the office?
You said go to the office and get a flight schedule.
Did you take it on your own account to go in there and write the situation?
It wasn't right in the situation, sir.
You said that you feel bad about the way it came off, right? You admitted that.
I mean, that I feel bad about the words that I use, sir.
So why are you, here's what my struggle is. If this happens all the time, and there's nothing to be worried about, there's no contention, despite all the other factors that match a contentious relationship, is that it's all fine that you somehow it's normal, but you felt the need to apologize. Now, you see how that doesn't match? It just doesn't match. It's either contentious relationship, which happens, or it's all smiles and bubbles and everybody loves everybody. And you're totally surprised it's out of the blue. Right? Or does that match in your mind? Yes or no?
Yes,
That matches.
yes.
You told counsel that she got attitude all the time.
Yeah.
And he asked you, who are you talking about? And you said, Shanti Moore, right?
Yes.
Had you ever joked in that way or pulled her chair in that way or walked in there and put your hand on her before that day?
No, sir.
This was the first time you ever put your hand on her. Right? And pulled her chair when she didn't know you were behind her. Right?
Yes, sir.
And you apologized for it afterward.
Yes, sir.
Okay, were you instructed to apologize, or did you feel it on your own? I need to go apologize because she misinterpreted what I was doing and I was just playing.
Me and my supervisor went over there, sir.
So that's not what I asked. I asked, did you want to go do it on your own, or were you told by your supervisor to go do it?
No, I didn't. I apologized on my own because I feel she took it out of context because it wasn't meant like it was. The words wasn't meant the way that she took it,
The words over the phone,
the words over the phone.
did you say anything to her when you did that? When you walked in there and grabbed pulled a chair and you allegedly just touched her shoulder? Like a friend they've known for years. Touched her shoulder. Did you say anything to her?
No,
Who did you talk to? You talked to anybody?
we were just laughing. And then I started talking to Ms. Moore about, because she was in front of the computer to give me the printout for the schedule.
Okay. And did you talk to Ms. Moore?
No,
again,
she was talking
before you
on the
left?
phone.
Okay,
She started talking to whoever she was talking to on FaceTime.
okay. And what about Ms. Casmore before you left?
She printed out the schedule for me.
And then you walked out and said something to the lady outside?
Their supervisor, Rosie, that was standing right in the door.
Why did you tell her? What did you tell her?
I told her, I said, I have a schedule that y'all never saw me.
Okay.
Updated schedule.
Perfect. Now, why would you say, I got the schedule that y'all never sent me? Why'd you say it like that?
Because that's the way we joke around, because that's just the way it was. It wasn't no hurtful and wasn't no harm in it, sir.
Okay,
Because that's the kind of relationship that we all had over there, sir.
good. Would you say you got a good relationship with everybody in that office? Except Ms. Moore.
I had a good relationship with everybody in that office, including Ms. Moore, till today.
Till today?
Yes, sir. I'm in the courtroom for no reason, sir.
Oh, well, till today, but you made the allegation back in 2012.
Well, I mean, way back then, I mean, even when it happened, sir.
Okay,
I'm just saying, I'm in here for no reason, sir. I didn't do no wrong. For as you heard saying, I put my hands on her, sir, in a wrong matter.
but didn't you just tell me you put your hands on
I said in a wrong matter, sir.
her in a wrong manner?
I did not choke her, sir.
Okay.
My mama didn't raise me like that, regardless of how you think.
It's not what I think. It's not what I think. It's what the evidence said. And these are just questions. Okay, and I'm trying to get to what happened. Okay, so the questions are just simple one. Did you touch her? Did you not touch her? Reason why there are two different versions of that from you. All right? That's what this jury, this panel needs to decide. Not the employment, not Airlines. This is the county, and it's a criminal act. Okay, there's the allegation. So it's not personal in any way, but we got to find out what. Okay, now, Ms. Casmore don't want to tell anyone. And you've given two accounts. So we have to ask these questions. I follow. Pass it.
Mr. West?
Nothing further,
Okay. Mr. Wheeler, you may step down. Mr. West,
No further witnesses, we rest.
state.
Go ahead. Well, the witnesses, you're on.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen of jury, at this time, we're gonna take a break. The court has to draft a charge. We're gonna have a charge conference. After the charge conference, then we'll have closing arguments, and then the case will be given to the jury. So at this time, everyone, please stand while the jury exit the courtroom. And if you need any water or coffee, just please tell the bailiff. We'll be in recess. You may be seated. Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session. Let the record reflect that the defendant, Mr. Demetrius Gerald Wheeler, is present in court with his attorney John West. Let the record also reflect that the state is present by Assistant District Attorney Colby Hawfire. Let the record also reflect that the jury is now present in the courtroom. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I will read to you the court's charge. And state, are you ready to proceed? Defense, are you also ready?
Ready, yeah.
Okay. Members of the jury. The defendant, Demetrius Gerald Wheeler, stands charged by information with the offense of assault, causing bodily injury alleged to have been committed in Jefferson County, Texas, on or about the 23rd day of June of 2021. To this charge, the defendant has entered a plea of not guilty. I now give you the law that applies to this case. Our law provides that a person commits the offense of assault if the person intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly caused bodily injury to another. So that you may better understand the nature of the offense with which the defendant is charged, I'll now define certain terms and words. The term bodily injury means physical pain, injury, or any impairment of physical condition. A person acts intentionally or with intent with respect to a result of their conduct, whether it is their conscious objective or desire to cause the result. A person acts knowingly or with knowledge with respect to a result of their conduct when they are aware the conduct is reasonably certain to cause the result. A person acts recklessly or is reckless with respect to the result of their conduct when they are aware of but consciously disregards a substantial or unjustifiable risk that the result will occur. The risk must be of such a nature and degree that it disregards constitutes a gross deviation from the standard of care that an ordinary person would exercise under all the circumstances as viewed from the actor's standpoint. Therefore, if you believe from the evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant, Demetrius Gerald Wheeler, did in Jefferson County, Texas, on or about the 23rd day of June of 2021, then, and there intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly caused bodily injury to another, namely Ashanti Shanae Moore, hereafter styled the complainant, by putting his hands around complainant's neck and pulling her, you will find the defendant guilty. Unless you so find beyond a reasonable doubt, or if you have a reasonable doubt thereof, you will find the defendant not guilty. General instructions. All persons are presumed to be innocent, and no person may be convicted of an offense unless each element of the offense is proved beyond a reasonable doubt. The fact that a person has been arrested, confined, or indicted for, or otherwise charged with the offense gives rise to no inference of guilt at the trial. The law does not require a defendant to prove innocence or produce any evidence at all. The presumption of innocence alone is sufficient to acquit the defendant unless the jurors are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt of the defendant's guilt after careful and impartial consideration of all the evidence in the case. The prosecution has the burden of proving the defendant's guilty, and it must do so by proving each and every element of the offense charged beyond a reasonable doubt. And if it fails to do so, you must acquit the defendant. It is not required that the prosecutions prove guilt beyond all possible doubt. It is required that the prosecution's proof excludes all reasonable doubt concerning the defendant's guilt. You have the right to consider all the facts that are shown by the evidence and to draw natural and reasonable inferences from such facts. You alone have the authority and duty to determine what the facts are. In evaluating the evidence, you must totally disregard what you believe is my opinion about any factual matter. You cannot question the bailiff concerning the testimony or the law, nor should you discuss the case in his presence. If any question develops during your deliberation, it must be reduced to writing, signed by your foreperson, and given to the bailiff. The question will then be answered by the court as soon as possible to the extent allowed by the law. Questions or comments of the attorneys do not constitute testimony and must not be considered as evidence. You must also disregard any statement of the attorneys that is inconsistent with the law contained in this charge. Any physical exhibits admitted into evidence will be furnished to you by the bailiff upon your request. You must not consider facts that have not been introduced in the evidence or legal principles not contained in this charge. It is improper for you to discuss or consider anything which you know or have learned outside of the testimony presented to you and the law contained in this charge. If you should discover that you have any outside information, you should not mention this information to any other juror, nor consider it yourself in arriving at a verdict. You are the exclusive judges of the facts proven, the believability of the witnesses, and the weight to be given their testimony. However, you must be bound by and strictly follow the law contained in this charge. Your failure to follow the law could result in a mistrial being declared, and your deliberate violation of this charge could subject you to being held in contempt of court. After the attorneys present their arguments, you will retire, select a foreperson, and consider your verdict. The arguments are not evidence, and you should give the arguments only the consideration you feel they deserve during the evaluation of the evidence. It is the duty of your foreperson to make certain that your deliberations are conducted in accordance with this charge. After you have reached a unanimous decision, your foreperson should sign the appropriate verdict attached to the charge. In returning a verdict, it is your responsibility to make certain that justice is done in this case. The last page of this charge is a verdict page. There are 2 lines. If your verdict is we the jury find the defendant not guilty, then your foreperson will sign the top line. If your verdict is we the jury find the defendant guilty as charged in the information of assault, then you will sign, the foreperson will sign the bottom line. Does everyone understand? Okay. Okay. Each side will be given 30 minutes for the closing argument. Mr. Hoffmeyer, the state has the right to open and close. Would you like to open or reserve your?
We would like to open, judge, and reserve our right to close. I would ask the court, give us a 15-minute warning. Before we do that, Judge, I want to make sure I can plug computer in to make sure we get.
Okay, hold on, before you do that, let me get the I don't need it. Oh, it's on there. Oh, it's already on there.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. Appreciate it.
You are.
Okay, Mr. Hoffmeyer, I'll be keeping the time.
Thank you. Please, court, counsel.
Yes.
Right. I want to thank y'all again, once again, for your service. I thank you for your patience and for your paying attention, for watching and you're paying attention, and that's what all we can ask, okay? For you to watch, determine or not, whether or not me, the state, prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. Each and every one of these elements, okay? I'm gonna go back through the elements with you. I'm gonna go back through what the testimony and the evidence that you were presented. Now, before I do that, I want to make sure you understand the evidence that is the evidence that has been admitted for trial, okay? Once we finish our argument, it is available for you to be requested to bring back for any deliberation if you'd like to review it. Okay, so there's video, we've got statements, we've got business records from Envoy, we got photographs, okay? All you have to do if you'd like to review that is ask for that to be brought to you, okay? So anything that you want to look at again, it's perfectly fine for you to take it back there and look at it. And if you want to make it, that's why it's entered into evidence for you to review it. Okay, so ask for it if you like to see it. If you don't need to see it, that's fine. Okay, but it's available and you just have to ask for it. We'll set it up for you. Okay, now. We go back to these elements. I know it's ad nauseum, but the reason why I said why it seems like you're hearing it so much is because those are the things that matter, and that's what I have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. All the other things about it are facts in the case, but they're not the elements. Okay, the elements have to be met beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay, we gave an example kind of when we were picking the jury about like color of a shirt or something like that. You know, so that doesn't have to do with the elements of the case, which is our requirement to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Those elements are defendant Demetrius Wheeler on about June 23rd, 2021 in Jefferson County, Texas, did intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly cause bodily injury to the complainant, Ashanti Shanae Moore, by putting his hands around the complainant's neck and pulling her. Okay, those are the elements. The 6 of them. Okay, gotta prove each one of those beyond a reasonable doubt. And if I don't, y'all know what happened. Nothing. All right, not guilty. That's the way it works. That's the way it happens. All right. So you hold me to that burden, I never shifts in any way. But I believe, and I'm gonna go through this with you, I believe through the testimony and through the evidence we presented, we satisfied with it. All right, and I'm gonna show you how we satisfy through what you've heard. Okay. Now, bodily injury really quickly, we've all talked about it. It's just pain. All right, doesn't have to be visible, doesn't have to mean a hospital visit, and doesn't have to mean a serious bodily injury. Okay, those are for another crime, higher charge. Okay, we're talking about a misdemeanor, a class, and a assault bodily injury. Okay, now witnesses. We had Ms. Moore testify. Ms. Moore, the complainant. That's the person we refer as the victim in the case. We're complaining witness is how we refer to them. She is the first one you heard from the testimony. She's the one, the only one, that can tell you whether or not an act by a person caused them bodily injury. And she's the only one who can tell you whether or not it caused her pain. Okay, so what her testimony is important, right? It's important for how she felt and how she feels after all those things. And all those questions were asked, and Ms. Moore was brave and came up here and talked about it. Now she says she has to see Mr. Wheeler through work because she still works in that area. And he still works at the same place. I want you to think about that. I mean, come back in and talk about something that happened two years later, but it's not like it ever goes away. You still have to go and see that person. She even gave you an example of going to Walmart where she had a panic attack and she had to go outside. She forgot to even make the purchase she wanted to make because seeing Mr. Wheeler put her in a state where she couldn't even do her business. And she's an adult. She's an adult who has a degree. She's doing her job at the time on June 23rd, 2021. And she told you how she felt, and she was emotional about it, how she felt, and was surprised at how much it hurt her. And this happened at her job where she's supposed to be safe, just like at your house. Okay. Now, what she tell you? We also heard from Ms. Casmore. I'm going to talk to you about Ms. Casmore. Ms. Casmore didn't tell us a lot, but I think that's telling. All right. Because the problem with that is that she told us in the statement that's in State Exhibit number 1, which is the ongoing investigation, where she told them what she saw. She wasn't sure what she saw, and she wouldn't want to talk about it. She didn't want to come. She didn't want to talk to the sheriff. Okay. Now, you saw the sheriff, the initial officer, Mr. Scott Weaver, went out there. He had the body cam. He took the photographs. It was 3 hours after the alleged assault. Okay. Now, Detective Chad Williamson is the one who took the voluntary statement from the defendant of what he told him. We're going to go with what he told him. We're also going to compare that to what the defendant told y'all in this room, not 20 minutes ago. Now, the last witness you saw, no, it wasn't the last one. It was the last state's witness was Detective Gardner, who is the ultimate detective who gathers all the evidence and submits that to the district attorney's office. Then you heard from Mr. Wheeler. Okay, and we'll talk about that too. Now, first of all, this is all testimony. We talked about this before. Testimony is evidence. Come in here and what you say. You are the judges of the facts. In this, you are the judges of the credibility of the witnesses. So, like the judge told you, you have a right to believe everything each witness says. Some of what they say are nothing about it. But it's important that y'all are the community is decide that. Okay. And that's why we have jury trials, and that's why our system works. You have the ability to have whether or not you believe that that person is innocent. Right? Now, what did Ms. Moore testify to? She said this was June 23rd, 2021. Everybody said that. No, it's not a dispute. Even the defendant agreed when I asked him. Not a dispute when it was approximately 4:15 p.m. at the regional airport, Jaguars Airport here in Jefferson County, Texas. It's in Beaumont. It's just area between Beaumont and Port Arthur. It's got a Beaumont address. It's not in dispute, that element of whether or not this happened in our county, Jefferson County, Texas. Now, inside Envoy Air, which is American Airlines subsidiary, where Ms. Moore and Mr. Casmore work, who runs the airport is the county of Jefferson County, Texas, in which the defendant works for, the fuel pumpers. Now, out of our elements through that testimony on or about June 23rd in Jefferson County, Texas, you've heard nothing that disputes any of those elements. 1, 2, 1, done. Check. Ms. Moore testified to that the complainant and the witness, Tamara Casmore, both working at the airport at American Airlines Center. Both of them were in their office sitting right next to each other at desks facing the same direction when the defendant who agreed he came in there, nobody else was in there. That's what Ms. Moore testified to. Now, their accounts of it were different. But what matched the other evidence that you have? Their accounts are different. His it was just a joke and, playing it, colored bubbles and it's a birthday party. He talks like that to everybody he knows in there, and they should know he's just playing around all this, right? Obviously, Ms. Moore's account of it was different than that. And she told you that, she told you how emotional she was when she saw him, and that she still has to see him all the time. She avoided him, all right? She's not happy still working with this individual there. But this is about what happened that day. Is it not anything about an employment? The investigation by Jefferson County Airport is not the investigation by the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. That's a criminal investigation. It is not a job investigation. Now there's Envoy Air, their internal investigation. I'll submit to y'all, like we said, that's a corporate investigation to determine not whether or not somebody fired. What is it that further determine? But whether or not the corporation going somebody gets sued on that. It's not about the employees. Y'all know that. Y'all live in this world, right? It ain't nothing about that. It's about corporations saving themselves from whatever. And that includes the county too. All right? That's period. That's not what a criminal investigation is for. That's what the sheriff office does. Right? So I submit to you, anytime they say, well, they conducted an investigation, they said you were fine. Forget that. That's a miscarriage of what we're talking about. That's done by the sheriff's office. This is criminal court. This is not, we're not talking about an internal investigation for employment, right? Which both of these did. The only reason I want y'all looking at the statement, because Ms. Casmore only gave the true statement that she saw in there, right? She avoided it with me. She avoided the detective with that. She didn't want to tell him that. She would not answer a call. She would not. Now, I told y'all, even ask her, you didn't want to be here, right? Well, she avoided me on about whether or not we had to serve her and bring her in. Now, look, we don't like to do that. I like to do that in those cases. But I don't decide. She is a witness to an alleged crime, right? It's not a choice to whether or not you want to participate or not. If you're a witness to a crime and you're material to a crime, a subpoena by a judge, it has to be honored. Otherwise, it is because we have to prove these cases beyond a reasonable doubt. We have to bring the people who were there. You don't just get to decide, I'm gonna sit this one out. Sorry, we don't like to use that, but you're coming. All right. You may not want to go, but you have that. Now you can act like that you didn't see anything, and that's why I asked her about her statement. Well, why is this statement to Envoy? Did she disagree? That's what she said to them? No, she didn't. Because then she quit further to get up there and lie. Now, did she want to be there? I think y'all can decide. I think you can make your decision why she didn't want to talk to anybody about this. I think you saw what I saw. Why wouldn't she, if she got sides on there, why would she come in and say, this is what I saw? Nothing happened. And, I'll come in and tell the court. She didn't want to come in because she is friends with him, not the complaining witness. She don't want to come in and tell the truth to y'all what happened, because then her boy, her friend, the one who plays with her and is more friendly with her, will get in trouble. And I get that, and I'm not arguing with that in any way, right? Because who would do that? Who wants to do that? It don't matter about one. The fact of the matter is, if it happened, you come in and tell us what happened. And we know what happened because she told Inmore. Now, we had to go get that, because Ms. Caswell didn't want to cooperate. Now, tell me why you don't want to cooperate. Think about the reason why you wouldn't want to. Come up with another reason why you want to cooperate, other than to not be the second witness, other than the complainant. The only other one besides the two people that are in here saying conflicting things, the third person was there, the deciding one, doesn't want to tell what she saw. So she did. We had to ask her through her statement, and she admitted that. Now, she characterized it in the best way possible for guess who? Guess who? Was it from Ms. Moore? Not Wayne, they're not friends anymore. Is she still friends with Mr. Wheeler? Yeah, they are. Yeah, and she belittled whether or not all it happened from the go. All right, now she was the only other one in there. So why do we bring her? Do I get to just say no? You know what? Hey, I don't want to bother you. No, it's a crime. It's alleged. Well, he's in there too for this. All right, that's the only other witness to support his story or to support what? Mr. Moore's story. I submit to y'all, look at both of them. And what I want you to do is when you go back and look at this, take that back, right? And I got a picture, but take it back on page 55 of a 75-page document. I got a picture of it in there. I'm gonna go to it when we get to that witness. Now, Miss Ashanti Moore testified and identified Mr. Wheeler. She knows who he is. When Casmore told her it's Wheeler, she knew who he was. She identified him here in court. Okay. They were talking on the phone. She was on a FaceTime call with 3 other friends. No one else is in the room but her, those two, and then the phone call, and then the defendant walks in there like he owns the place. He told you, I'm the only one. I know he denied it when I talked to him, but you heard what he said. I'm the only 1 in 4 people in that airport. They can go anywhere they want to go. I tell you, all you need to know about whether or not that guy determines who decides where he gets to go and where he doesn't go. He told her. Now, he acts like it's all colored bubbles and their relationship is great, and I don't know why she would get so mad. Y'all heard the language. Nobody denies what the language was. I submit to you that, look, they had gotten tired of dealing with Miss Moore. It's okay for them to get tired of that. What ain't okay is put your hands on somebody at the job, right? It ain't okay if you think you're playing around. That ain't okay. All right. I don't think that was. I think that's convenient now that you're in here in court talking about that. That's how you're acting, right? Now, if you're perturbed with her, you want to say that doesn't matter what happened. He was going in there to right this situation. They were all sick of it, whether his supervisor told him to or not. They were all sick of the way she was talking, which is what? And he told you how they walk around, how they are. They go where they want to. Business or not. I go where I want. I don't ask for permission. So therefore, I don't get talked to like that, and nobody hangs up on me. So we go through what we said. She identified the defendant. There we go. There he is. That's 3 of the 6 elements right there, from Ms. Casmore. From Ms. Moore. Then she testified that relayed that don't worry about who's on the phone. There's attitude in that. I don't care what they're saying about things. There's attitude already in the language. Okay. I don't, if you want to believe that he says he puts his foot in my language.
15 minutes.
Put in every person he talks in that office puts his foot in their ass. I'll go ahead and believe that. All right. That ain't happening. And I will submit today that he didn't tell his supervisor that either. Only when I asked him specifically, he said, well, yeah, I told him. He didn't tell him that. Because what would a supervisor told him? No. He's not gonna tell them to go talk to that person again. That'd be a great supervisor, wouldn't it? Do you think he told him the whole thing? No, he told him that you know you know who she is. She's acting up again, right? You know what I'm talking about. I about had it with it. So what happens? You heard her respond, I'll put your foot on it. We talked about that line. Nobody even disputes that part of it. So pressed that and she hung up the phone. She told him on the phone you're being rude. He hung up the phone. Now, She returned to her call about 5 minutes later. He didn't deny that he walked in there and she was facing the other way, didn't see him come in. All right, now, if they got that kind of relationship, Ms. Moore would have said, look, we're cool, but this went too far, right? That's what that would have been. Like, look, I like him, but I don't know what was wrong, right? That's how that goes. Not, this guy comes and grabs me by the neck, pulls me back, pulls my chair. No, that's not. That's not, it's not right anyway, right? And then he's gonna put his hands around someone's throat. I talked to y'all about that. We even talked with the officer. If they dated, that's a 3rd-degree felony. You put your hands around their throat and construct their hair. We take that seriously, of joking. We take it serious. Why? Because it is serious. Because you don't know. It doesn't take that much time to constrict someone's hair. And this is a person allegedly that this guy who said there in front of y'all that they got that kind of relationship. And they're cool like that. She said, it threw me off, scared me. I was scared and like, what are you doing? And she kept saying, what the are you doing? What are you doing? You can't push them off. You see the size. Well, she said, I can't push them off. All this occurred by Ms. Casmore, who conveniently don't want to come here and tell you about it and look, turn back to whatever TV show she. Why? Because if she came in there, she would have to tell you what she saw, and it was that he put his hands on her just like before. Now, scared me. It's not a joke of playing around. He did it on purpose, and I didn't give him permission or consent. That's what she testified to. I asked her that. I didn't give him consent. I don't play like that. There it is. Intentionally, knowingly erected. He intentionally did that to me. I didn't give him permission to do it, and it ain't something we play around with. He should not have misunderstood somehow their relationship, that he could put his hands on her in that way and cause her pain by grabbing her neck. Now, he caused me pain by grabbing me by my neck, pushing me down on me, standing over me. He pulled me back and forward and pulling my face towards his face. He didn't talk about any of it. But Miss Moore was clear about what it was, and she told every time she gave a statement, it never changed about what happened. Pulled her close to her face, almost to the point where they're almost touching. The only other person who can corroborate that is Miss Casmore. So, did it cause her bodily injury? It caused her pain. And he put his hands around her neck. He pulled her. Now stop. If you believe Miss Moore, okay, we're done. Because I just went through all those elements through her testimony. Okay, if you believe what she said, that's all that needs to be proved. But you don't need to do that because there's more. Okay, there's more. But her testimony covers every element. Okay. Now, what I'm gonna do at this time, I'm gonna give counsel. I'm gonna speak to you again. I want to reiterate, I appreciate the time and your attention to all this. I know it's complicated. I know it takes time when we take it, but we appreciate you. We need you. And we thank you very much. I'll talk to you again.
Okay, you used 19 minutes and 20 seconds. Okay, so you'll have close to you, well,
10 minutes.
10 minutes and 40 seconds left. Mr. West, are you ready to proceed?
Ready, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Ladies and gentlemen, what we have is two stories here. We have Ms. Moore's story and we have. So let's talk about everybody that you heard tonight and kind of go beyond what was actually said. First, let's talk about Shanti Moore. One of the first things I want to point out about her is what Ms. Casmore said. She said she likes drama. She's extra. I don't remember her exact language. And she goes into that report. This is the lady we worked with for several years, right next to her, by my side. So she did it that way. One of the things that charge says is that you have the right to determine what to believe on. Mr. Hoffbauer says, you give the credibility of the witnesses. So keep that in mind. How believable, how reliable is the Shanti? Another thing I wanted to point out that I found interesting, and I never brought it back up and just kind of faded away, but I knew I'd bring it back up in this stage. He even asked her, what's your boyfriend's name? Why don't I tell you that? Why would you not do that? That sounds very suspicious and weird. I guarantee if I asked all of you who your significant others were, y'all tell me their names. Well, I give you all the information about it because it's not my business, but usually say, yeah, I'm married to Susie, or I'm married to Bob, or whatever. Or I'm dating Joe, or something like that. It's kind of suspicious. Makes me think, what kind of person are we dealing with? That she won't even tell us today who this guy is. Okay? Let's talk about something else she said. She said after this incident, she really went back to work. Fueling planes, doing his job. Does that sound like somebody who just committed a crime? That he's like, I'm back to work doing my thing. No, not at all. She also didn't call the police immediately. She could have picked up the phone at any time and called the police. She's like, oh, I was busy. If this is serious enough and I get attacked, I don't care if Mr. Hallfire jumps right now and attacks me right now. I'm not going to finish this trial. I'm going to go back and call the police or talk to the officer right there. I'm not going to just keep doing my job if I get attacked. Tell my employer, no, I just got attacked. We need to take care of this. But she just went back to her job. Did she call the police later when they had a slow time? No, she waited till 7 o'clock that night and called the police. When all her coworkers were gone, Wheeler was gone, Ms. Casmore was gone, everybody was gone. And she stays at the airport and they leave the airport and talk about that. That's also something very suspicious, very weird, and very out of the ordinary. Makes you think like, why? Another thing that the state brought up that I didn't bring up and I never mentioned, but I think it's very interesting here, he brought up a lawsuit. He asked her, like, are you planning on filing a lawsuit? We never talked about that. I never said anything about that. I never brought that up. Why would they? And he even brought it up again earlier, and it was just a few moments ago, that that's what the investigation is for, to prevent lawsuits. Because if she wasn't file a lawsuit, who should she file a lawsuit against? Jefferson County. Pockets. Lots of money. Okay? Your money. Our money. And I'm gonna come back to that in a little bit. I'm gonna switch to somebody else. Let's talk about the other side, Mr. Wheeler. We have an individual who's been with the county for 12 years. One of the fuelers, does more than just fuel planes. They do other stuff out there, but that's his main job. What did he say happened? He was on the phone because the plane didn't get in like it was supposed to. According to the schedule that him and his coworkers had here, that, hey, his plane was on the ground, what's going on? And his boss was like, well, call him and find out where it is. So he called him, talked to Miss Casmore, going, where's the plane? Well, it's not supposed to be here. What are you talking about? Well, it's not supposed to land to whatever each time. He's like, that's what our schedule says. You must have a bad schedule. Somewhere along the way, Miss Moore, who we heard kind of like to butt into stuff and interfere, was like, hey, who's that? You tell him, you know, don't worry, or whatever she said. And then he made a statement that whether you take it as joking or aggressive, whatever, that he even said he regretted saying, I'll tell her I'll put a boot in her ass. That's rude. It's very rude. I get that. And he even said on the stand that he regrets saying that he should have said that, and he didn't mean it in an aggressive manner, but we all understand that that's pretty aggressive. Nevertheless, the phone eventually went dead, and the supervisor's like, what's going on? I don't know, they hung up on him. So his boss was like, go over there and find out what's going on. So that's why he went over there to the office to find out. He walked in and talked to him, and he grabbed the chair, and as you heard from both Ms. Casmore and him, that he did with hand on her shoulder. Okay. Looking back, again, that's something he probably should have done, but that's not choking. That's not grabbing, choking, and doing what was said. Now, what's important also, and Mr. Hawkeye talked about it a little bit, but I have a different analysis of it, is that he is still working there. Despite what was alleged, Jefferson County didn't do an investigation, did keep him. And he's Mr. Hawkeye like, oh, that's a workplace investigation, not a criminal investigation. Let's go back to my void out. Let's talk about that, because that comes back there. Remember I talked about those different burdens working my way up? A employment issue is a civil matter, which is the burden on that, if you remember, is preponderance of evidence. Probably happened, more likely than not. So that's the burden, the level of the county and envoy need to figure out that they meet that level, because that's what, if they get sued, that's how much it has to prove that this happened. Not beyond a reasonable doubt. That's what he has to prove. It's pretty hard to sue him and the county, and just get it up to probably. And if it got to probably, and they're at risk, really, and show that he's a bad employee and he's not. Envoy, Jefferson, down. So you're right, it's not a criminal investigation. It's a much lower investigation, much less needed proof. They only have to prove probably. Did he probably do what she's trying to do? John, the county has to worry about a lawsuit. Okay, now, no, he probably haven't. So don't get confused when Mr. Hoffmeyer talks about, oh, it's a criminal investigation, different investigation. It is a different investigation. It's a much harder investigation. It holds him to a much harder burden than what he has. All right, so let's talk about another witness. Another witness you had is Miss Cassmore, our best witness that he called. Not me. I didn't call him. I couldn't get her because she didn't want to come and testify. But he used his power as a state to make sure she's here. And what'd she tell you? Basically, after you heard Mr. Willer's statement that what he says is true. His story is what happened. That he came in there, he grabbed, pulled her chair back, put his hands on her arm, leaned down, talked to her. They talked a little bit and he left. Exactly what Mr. Wheeler said. Their own witness came in here and said that. She said that his actions weren't aggressive or hostile. She didn't notice anything aggressive or hostile about that. Nothing out of the ordinary. She even said if she felt that her coworker was being attacked, she'd have done something. She'd have went and told him to pull a supervisor or phone. But she just said they kept watching a TV show, didn't think anything. This is someone that's sitting closer than you guys are sitting to each other right now. We heard how close they were. Y'all are all kind of spaced out because of COVID fears and things like that, but they were right next to each other. She didn't think enough about it to go, wait a minute, what's going on here? Yeah, watch your TV program and let them talk about whatever they have to talk about. I find that very, very. Today, Hoffmeyer has already alluded to something out. Well, the staff wants to protect her friend. Her friend? She said he wasn't her friend. She actually even testified that she was close with Ms. Moore than Mr. Wheeler. They worked together on a daily basis right into each other. Because that time she was closer to her than Mr. Wheeler. Then somebody started going random. One guy out and on the runway. That was the joking kind of guy, kind of friendly, and everybody liked him. So what does that look like? Well, like Ms. Casamore said, Moore was drama. Shante Moore was extra. Whatever she, I don't remember exactly what it like that. She was always trying to make things more than it really was.
Objection. That's what we're going to have most of it.
I was just looking at them, if they want to pull out her exact language, they can ask for that transcript.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the jury questions and comments of the attorney do not constitute testimony and must not be considered as evidence. You must also disregard any statement of the attorneys that is inconsistent with the law contained in this charge. The arguments are not evidence, and you should give the arguments only the consideration you feel they deserve during the evaluation of the evidence. Mr. West, you may proceed.
If you want to give it exactly her language, you can ask the court reporter to get that exact transcript of that part of what she said, right? And I'll leave that to you guys if you have a disagreement with what was said. Let's talk about Deputy Weaver. He was the officer who came out the scene. Some things are important from him. He saw no visible marks or signs of injury, and he talked about that. It sometimes takes bruises or marks to come and show up. Okay, but he took some pictures anyway. And why did he take pictures? He said that take pictures so we have a before and after in case those bruises or marks showed up later, that you can look at what the difference and what happened. So take a look at those pictures that happened. Take a look at the bruises and marks that came later. Okay, they didn't give you the pictures of later pictures. Even Deputy Weaver said, in a day or so, take pictures. You remember he was telling the boyfriend, take pictures. They were out, you saw in the video talking about that. We don't have any pictures. Why don't we have pictures of these bruises, these marks, or whatever a couple days later? Because it never happened. That's why. There's nothing to take a picture of. Okay, there are no injuries because there was no choking. Also, something I found interesting. You saw the body cam video. They're standing in the office while Miss Moore writes her statement. How long was that? That silence we had to sit there. Of her writing that statement. I almost fell asleep. How long does it take to write? He came in and choked me. By God, if I got assaulted, it would take me very long to write exactly what happened. I have to written quick. Unless I'm trying to figure out, what did I need to say? It didn't happen. That's another thing that was just shocked me. I'm like, why is it taking that long to write a short thing that he came in and told me? For something that she said only happened, took a few seconds. If it happened to me, I could write it down pretty quick. Guarantee you could too. Now, the last officer you hired from a detective was Detective Gardner. First, I wasn't asking any questions like the other detective. Sit there. Well, he said something that caught my attention. And I asked him that Miss Casimore would be the best witness on what really happened. He said, yeah, because it would corroborate one of the two stories. That's why they wanted to talk to her. You heard her. She corroborated that story. That story. And he said the reason why is because the parties are usually biased. You know, the victim saying it happened like this, and they're all, you know, and the victim, I didn't do it, because they're both trying to put their positions forward. And independent witnesses, but here's what happened. And that's what she said. And again, this is from someone who didn't want to be here at all, didn't want to say anything. He tried to avoid getting involved in this. She went and talked to the officer. She barely talked to Mr. Hawkeye. But finally, when the state put the pressure on her, forced her to come testify, she's like, fine, I'll be
I'm
here.
gonna object. You know, if the council knows that the defendant has the exact same right of subpoena as the state. I wasn't gonna mention that until I got up, but we mentioned it again, and I have to object. Because that's a miscarriage of actually what the law is. The state has no more power than the defendant in regards to subpoena power. So that's a miscarriage of what actually his power is, the defendant has.
I'll rephrase, Your Honor.
Okay, objection sustained.
I could have subpoenaed her. They did first. They're the ones that told her to get it here and testify, tell us what, right? So, what you need to remember here is the burdens. And it's the reason why I went over that so much in Board Hour and even talked to you in the opening statements about that. It's something you gotta remember, the different levels of burdens. But you need to figure out, where does this fall? How much do I believe this? Did this might have happened? This may have happened. This probably happened? Nope. No, it didn't probably happen. And one of the reasons we know that is because one huge company, American Airlines, and one very large local company, the county, both said, no, not enough here. Get back to work, Mr. Wheeler. So we didn't meet that level. We can go to the other ones, clearly convincing happened. They clearly convincingly happened? No way. Question is, are you convinced beyond a reasonable doubt? Now let's think about this. If you're thinking there for 1 second, just in your mind going, you know what? Maybe Miss Casimore and Mr. Wheeler's story is what happened. That's reasonable doubt. Just that little, it crosses your mind that maybe she did take it out of context and all he did was just touch her arm like they both said happened. And then all this other stuff was made up hours later, et cetera, et cetera. If you're thinking that it might have happened that way, that is reasonable doubt. And by your oath, that's what you must follow. And if you have that just little reasonable doubt on what happened, thank you.
Okay.
So I'm gonna deal with some of the things that the council said, and then I'm gonna go back and do what I was talking about, okay? Now, most importantly, I want you to remind you, the council said there was no choking. They're not alleging choking. We're alleging to put hands on it, well, choking is you eating the breath. Right? That's not, choking is a higher crime, is a felony crime if you're eating the breath. It could be aggravated assault, it could be attempted murder, anything like that. What we're alleging is grabbing the neck and pulling, not choking. So let me clear that up, right? It's not choking. Now, also clear up the subpoena thing. I need to be clear about this. Now, whether or not I've got more power than the defendant to bring that is not the law, and it's not how that works. The defendant has every right that the state does. We don't have extra power to bring witnesses in. If he submits a subpoena to the court, and the court gives the subpoena out, that witness has to come to court just like it's said. I got no extra power to do that. Now, my job is the burden to prove the elements. So yeah, I use the power to somebody who decides they don't want to, and they're a material witness to and a crime, then yes, we subpoena them, even though, and we do it even though that person might be what we call a hostile witness, who's not going to want to tell us anything about that. But when it comes to someone being alleged of a crime and you have that information, we can't get it anywhere else. There isn't a video in there. We talk to the two and we get the person who saw it. Now, if you want, they don't want to prosecute. You want to get it, do it, act like they don't want to be there. You can't go back and forth, you're going to find anything out. All right. Now, the fact that I called it versus him calling it doesn't matter. It is a material witness because they're there. They're available. They don't live in Alaska. They're right down the road. We're off. Because they don't want to, we're bringing. Now, let me talk about that. The officer said that it was important to have that third person. I think corroborate. Okay. But her testimony, counsel says they got in there and said just like what she said. I didn't see nothing. It was all a joke. They were playing around. It's not what she said in the one with the honorable one. The one she gave to her work. Now, I want to be clear about this once again. He's wanting to say that I'm somehow that the corporate investigation, they found nothing and they said, oh, it's fine, it's nothing, go back to work. That's not what happened. Don't forget, no. He was on leave for 2 weeks. He didn't just say, hey, go back to work around, ain't nothing happened over it. No, he was on leave for 2 weeks. And Envoy did their investigation. Now, that is not the criminal. I'm gonna reiterate again, it's not the criminal investigation and has nothing to do with what they made. And do y'all get any evidence about there was a result, final result? We have determined this is all BS and none of this happened. He didn't see that, did he? That's his word. That's what he's telling you, right? But we do know that he was on leave. But that's not about whether or not the crime happened. That's about people. That's where I want to get run down that somehow this is about a lawsuit because we have to get that out of there. It's about a criminal investigation and it is you who decide where that happens, not a corporation and not the people potential suit that we ask everybody. Nobody's there. You have to get that out of there. So that's why we ask those questions, right? It don't matter. It ain't supposed to matter because we're not talking about money. We're talking about freedom. We're talking about crimes. So that's why we have jury trials. That's why we do that. And we don't rely on corporations and all that other stuff. Now it's convenient now because you can say whatever you want about what came with that investigation. Because where's the evidence? Did he show you something? Like, here, look at this. Defendant's exhibit number 1, my file was totally cleared by his employer. No, he just said he just let him go home. Now, yeah, y'all heard. He was put on leave for 2 weeks. Now, I say that because he don't want you confused somehow that he gets off from his employment. So therefore, you should take that as, well, they got a lower burden, so I can't be my burden. That's not how it works either. It's a criminal investigation. It's a different thing. So if you have to know that, we have to mention it. Nobody's hiding anything. Who's hiding anything about it? We ask those questions to all the witnesses about that. The motivation for it. But whatever it is, the point is it happened the way it occurred, and the person who could tell us most, right, is the person who it happened to, and the person who was there who doesn't want to come in and tell because why. Now, I don't know. I can't get him. I told y'all what I thought. Okay, then what the best thing we have from her, other than her coming in here in denial and said couldn't remember anything, which is just another way I don't want to say what I saw. Is what I showed you and I have here on this. That, and you'll be able to bring it back, but that's her statement at the top, and I want to make sure that I can read it to you, because it's hard to read on there. But that's from Stacy Gibbon one, and that's from Ms. Casimore, who she said she gave that statement. After she told y'all, I remember, it wasn't even a day that I remember, it wasn't that big a deal. This is what she said, and it's in that second paragraph. He grabbed, excuse me, and it's not clear enough that I can read. Y'all take it back there and read it. But you want to make sure this is the full statement he gave. It's on the next page, page 55 of the 75-page document statement.
5 minutes?
Yes, Your Honor. I received a call from the fuel service. It was DeMarcus. He was calling about a flight, asking if it was delayed or not. Not sure. We didn't call. I stated no, the flight was delayed. Plane comes in after 5. He asked, then what did change? I said, it's been this way for a while. Ashanti asked, who was I talking to? Marcus says, why is she worried about who it is? Ashanti said, I'll hang up the phone. And he said, tell her I'll put my foot in her. We talked about that night. All right. He wants you to believe that that's how they talk. You decide how that's talk, or if that's just convenient for him to say that. Now, after he twisted off and went overboard over being slided over the phone. Y'all got common sense. You tell me if that's acceptable in a county at a McDonald's to talk to somebody like that on a regular basis and over the phone. Tell me if that's the reason. You didn't check it out the door, did you? You think the county wants that? You think the supervisor knew fully what was said about all that? You think if it had to come from him, he would have told him that? No, nobody would have told him that. Definitely would have told him that if I went and twisted off there and put my hands on somebody I shouldn't have put my hands on just because she was giving him that. Now, well, before I go anywhere, he hung up on him. He grabbed, this is what she said, Marcus, and he said to tell her he put his foot in that. They both were being playful. That's what she's saying. Now, then I noticed he came into our office, I had my headphones on, and he grabbed her from behind, grabbing on her, and he was leaning over her. Then I noticed, the chair, and Ashanti stated, what are you doing? And he let her go when she was going off. He was standing there looking at her, and then he left. That's the statement from Ms. Casimore. That's what he didn't want to tell you. That's why I had to ask that to her when she wouldn't answer me when I asked her, what did you see? That's what she saw. And she didn't deny any of that. She didn't say they made up my statement. She didn't say I didn't write that. No, she said I did.
3 minutes?
I'm on to it. 3 minutes. Thanks, sir. Now, Mr. Weaver testified, went to the report. He took the pictures. He told her what happened. Y'all have a video. Take it back if you want to watch it. If there's something you're confused on about what he told the officer, take it back. Now, tell him what happened. He had to fill out a written statement. However long defense wants to argue that, it took care to write that statement. I submit to you, if you get assaulted like that, tell me if you can get your thoughts together about it. Or if you can write it like you're writing an exam, a written exam at law school like this was. Right. Now, regards to this, he took photos of her neck, said he didn't see visible injuries, but that's not unusual in his experience because people are different and it show up different, and it doesn't mean that it didn't cause pain. Been talking about them from the beginning. Now, injuries are not always immediately visible. Every person's different. It depends on the injury. It also depends on the
2
time.
minutes?
Thank you, Judge. But it does not mean it didn't happen or the person didn't feel pain. That's what he testified to in here. That's what he told you. Go get the record and look at it. Now, there's the pictures. He took the pictures. He didn't see visible injury, but he took his pictures and he did his job. Now, she told you who caused her pain. And she's the only one who would know it caused her pain, because it happened to. Ms. Casemore can try to determine or not where it caused her pain, but she acted like she didn't see it. I submit to you, that's all be it. Because why? Because it will put him in danger of what he did. Okay, now, he took the photos. He said the attack happened at 4. He got there at 7. It's 3 hours after. Now, Detective Williamson took the statement of the defendant. It's important for me to say what he admitted to in there. In that, he told Detective Williamson, I never put my hands on her. I pulled the chair, but I never touched her. Why is that important?
1 minute?
Because he sat there, and the first time he asked him that, he said, I never put my hands on her, never touched her. I would never do it. I got my daughter-in-law. Then he said, oh, well, I did. I'll put my hand on her shoulder. Well, what is it? Either one. And then he said, I went back and apologized. If you didn't do nothing, if you didn't do anything at all, what's the purpose of the apology? That's right. Now, look, I want to make sure you understand this, and it's the last time I'm done, okay? Defendant even responded to me when I asked him question.
30 seconds.
Thank you, Judge. This is not personal anyway. Look, I don't know Mr. Wheeler from Adam, right? It's about whether or not the law was broken, whether or not I proved each and every one of those elements. Now, if I didn't prove each and every one of the elements beyond a reasonable doubt, you know what you need to do, and that's how it should work. You send them home.
10 seconds.
Done. But it works the same way. If I did prove it, basically, now, then you find him guilty. That's it. Thank you for proving it.
Time's up.
Thank you very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, now, I think on Vardar, we mentioned that actually in a criminal case, criminal misdemeanor case, we have 6 jurors. You notice we have 7. The reason why we have 7 is because somebody is a alternate. And so the alternate does not go into the jury room with the other 6 while deliberation is going on. The alternate will be available if something happens to one of the other jurors. And so the alternate in this case is Lori Ashmore Hill. Okay, so Ms. Hill, you're the alternate. You could stay in the courtroom, or you can go back to our chambers, or you could go out into the hallway. Either one. Now, at this time, the remaining jurors will go into the jury room. The bailiff will also accompany you into the jury room, and he will have the court's charge. And the court will be in recess till we get a verdict.